Two, one. Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to episode 311 of the KBMOD podcast. It is February 25th, 2018, and the lot of us are here with you again. All of us, each an absolute unit in our own rights, here to talk with each other, and of course you, and just about all the happenings in the gaming world, the eating world. I don't know, what else do we cover? I mean, we leave no stone unturned.
The
I guess we
doing
don't
world,
ever
the
really
playing
cover
world.
the playing. We don't ever cover politics, but that's probably a welcome reprieve for people. So
That's the thing. I feel like there's like politics and religion. It's like if you cover those things, you probably only cover those things.
That's true.
Because you don't want to like half cover those things. That's a recipe for disaster.
I mean, everyone knows we're all devout Mormons, so we don't have to talk about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. We got the full crew on yet again, which is awesome. So how you guys doing, man? How was men? Excuse me, not man. That sounds like I'm addressing only, or whatever you guys identify as. Of course, it is 2018, so I don't want to assume.
I'm a goblin.
You're a goblin. Gotcha. How,
Please respect that.
Katie's in as a goblin. What did you get up to this week? Anything fun? Anything exciting?
I went out and I bought frames today.
Ooh,
Crazy
nice.
stuff.
Frames,
Yeah,
like,
I just
like
realized.
picture frames. You
Pictures?
getting into
Like
like
for,
scrapbooking or
No, yeah, collages. No, I just realized I still have all this artwork I bought from Comic-Con like literally a year ago, and so I kind of like did some work in my room and took down a lot of like meh posters, and so I'm actually getting some of that stuff actually hung up now, and it
what
feels
did you
good.
actually
'cause,
take down? I bet you took down anime, didn't you?
I took down quite a few anime posters. I took down posters that are like, I don't like this. I just literally have this here to fill space. So like, it's pretty bare bones right now. Let me there's like nothing over there. Of course there's Zelda, Metal Gear Solid, more Zelda. That's just there to fill a hole in the wall. So that'll hopefully be replaced. And then over here, oh bitches!
Oh, that is nice, dude.
And we
I
keep
like
the
that.
weebs off to the side, so we got Attack on Titan over there. They don't
Nice.
deserve the spotlight. But yeah, I've got some stuff that's gonna look pretty cool once it gets hung up properly.
Did you was there any thought about taking any of those hentai posters you didn't tell the audio listeners about that you kind of just glanced over? Or
I didn't show you my ceiling, so
oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
but I
He
laid
didn't-
down.
Laying in
didn't-
bed. It's
He didn't show
it's different
directly
story.
behind his PC where he's looking at,
Oh,
eight
it's-
hours
why I
a day.
just look up sometimes. Why I have the camera like cut off right here? Why did Katie's hands move around so much? Like, what's I'm doing? You shuffling tissues? Okay, we're done.
Well, that's good.
Tissues.
That's a nice euphemism. I like that. Shuffling tissues might be what I
Shuffling
just-
tissues. Yeah, that's a
good.
good one.
All right.
But yeah,
so
other than
you got some frames. Anything else? Any other things?
Still the
Did
usual.
you frighten
work
any
and stuff.
children at work, or are the kids?
I
safe?
didn't frighten any children, but I do have a museum story. I had
Yes.
I had a bit of a nightmare. I actually had a poop nightmare, a shitting nightmare.
Oh God.
So I'm walking around. I'm on post. I'm walking around the Asian galleries, and I started to feel a little tumble in my stomach. Felt like I was having an Asian gallery in my colon. And so I'm like, all right, I can handle this. So in any situation, you got to call in, through your little radio. That's, it's public radio. So every guide is hearing this, every member of security. And you have to like call control, be like, hey, I'm in the Asian galleries. I need a signal 15, as they call it. And so, the process is done. And someone has to go in and take my post while I try to shit as quickly as possible.
Oh, that's the pressure shits.
Oh my God,
I
it's
totally
the worst.
Because you
And-
should be able to enjoy the go, man, and you can't.
You're
feel
gonna
for you.
really hate this story then.
Oh
APL.
God.
Oh my God.
Okay. Sorry.
So,
Go ahead.
I get relieved and I'm on the clock. I race to the restroom.
Mm.
I go into the stall. I haven't really gone to this restroom before, and I noticed that the toilet is extremely high above the ground. I'm on that bitch, and I'm praying that there is like a squatty potty there or something.
Are your feet dangling on this thing?
like almost like
Oh my God.
like not even the soles of my feet touch the floor.
What?
Like, about how high this is.
Holy.
And
That's
I don't know if
crazy.
you've. Oh, it was insane. And normally when I'm at home, you know the procedure I do. I got the stool on one side. I got the other leg on top of the bathtub. I got both arms down, touching the floor. And I obviously can't do that here. So I'm in the stall. I'm trying to improvise. I'm like taking my shoes off and like stacking them up to put my leg on top of my shoes. And I'm like, this just isn't working. I can't get any leverage. And I'm sitting there and I'm fighting. Felt like there was a Dark Souls boss in my ass. I was putting so much pressure onto that, and so little was happening.
Oh no.
And I get close, dude. I get so close. I'm like focusing. It's so there. I just need one more because I'm like running out of breath trying to push this bitch out. And oh my god, I'm so close. And then right as I'm seconds from sweet satisfaction, I hear, security to all gallery guides, please keep in mind that time allotted for your Signal 15 for only 7 minutes.
Oh my!
I'm sitting there, all motivation is gone.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I remember that the head of security was up there too, and she knew that I was gone. I'm sitting there, I can't get it out, and I'm like, I need to get back out there. I cannot address this.
Oh no!
And there's no feeling worse than having to stop. Yeah, you have to stop shitting, go out. Next 2 hours, I'm limping. I'm like limping around the gallery. I'm like, God, I need to sit down. I sit down and I can't even sit down. I have to like be on one leg.
Oh, God.
It was so terrible. And then by the time I finally do get to shit, it comes out and then I look in the toilet and it's like a nickel size shit in there. I'm like, there's just no way. All this pain and suffering and only this came out? Jesus Christ.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's my week. Yeah.
All right.
You've actually described like the sort of my worst ongoing fear about having a service job. Because you have to think about things like that, and you know, like sometimes you get a nervous stomach. Like the fact that you have to think about, I have like 7 minutes when the body just doesn't work that way. That is, I mean, I'm laughing because it didn't happen to me, but truly that is like, I don't know that I could work in the service industry solely because of stuff like that.
Yeah. And she even said, like, over the public radio, like, if you need longer time, you need to let security know. I'm like, I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm really feeling a confrontation going on. I'm really, about to wage war in the bathroom. Give you some more time. Like, you can't say that.
I just love the image of you stacking your shoes in futility to try to build, like, so you can get leverage. Like contorting yourself like a monkey trying to figure out how you can get this
I'm trying to weigh my options. Like, stalls will have like the iron bar on the side. I'm like, I can't put my leg up there. There's no possible way. Or like the box that the toilet paper is in. I can't like bring them both up on each of them. Like, that's just impossible. So I tried to do what I could, but
Katie-san, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever tried to eat more fiber?
I do.
Okay.
I do. It had nothing to do with like my diet. It was just
I don't know
one of those measured
tough ones. Yeah.
I was gonna say he's got these these chef prepared meals coming out of his house.
That's true. He is getting pretty good quality.
Oh yeah. Okay, we're going back to that, huh? Okay. No. Well, guys, I guess you could say it was a shitty day.
God damn it! Wow. I mean, I'd say so. Wow. All right. Well, does anybody else? Did anybody else's week go a little better than that? Hopefully, probably anything as traumatic as that happened to Brandon or you, Yang, this week.
I mean, no, I have nothing. My week pales in comparison to that in terms of drama.
I was about to say, like, I had a long week at work, but now I feel great about myself.
It's a pretty low bar to reach to surpass that experience.
I mean, we had a short week because we had President's Day here in the U.S. So
that's right.
Right.
Short week. No worries.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And I'm trying to think if I have anything crazy or of note. No, nothing. I mean, again, I have to say, you're really making me appreciate my bowel movements and the fact that I generally get to okay, well, I have a poop story too, but it's a totally opposite one.
That's what I mean. I feel like as a new father, you're probably immune to poop stories at this point.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I see it and deal with it so much I don't really feel anything. But I have this. I mean, I've had this long aversion to ever pooping in public. I hate it. I prefer to poop at home, take my time, light a candle. I've always been that way. So like but sometimes you just have to go no matter what. So we were actually out grocery shopping this weekend or end of this week, and my business came up, and it was like, there's no way around this. And so we were in a supermarket. I had never used the restroom facilities before, and so I didn't know what to expect. It's always a toss up. I mean, the supermarket is a very nice supermarket, so I was hoping that the odds would be good that it would be a nice clean restroom, plenty of space. The other thing is, like, I don't like when there's a ton of people in there. I don't like to have battle shits. Just let me do my thing. And so I go in.
Battle shits.
And the first thing I notice is like it's just a gorgeous bathroom. It looks like they spent buco loads of cash on this thing, which doesn't surprise me because of the pedigree of the supermarket. So I go in, and I always look when I'm going to take a shit. I always try to take the handicap stall, not because I'm handicapped, which some would say maybe mentally I am, but because I want all the space. I like the feeling. It makes me feel like I'm in my own bathroom. And yes, you could say, well, what if somebody who's actually handicapped needs to use it? Well, they can fuck off until I'm done with my business. So anyway, I go in there, and it's literally like the size of like my first apartment, the handicap stall. It's huge. It has a baby like changing table. Dude, this bathroom is this stall is so big, it has its own sink in the stall.
Oh, wow.
It's one of these, like, it's an absolute unit of a bathroom. It's gorgeous. And so I had the perfect luck of having a very nice movement. Nobody came in the bathroom for the duration. I was in there probably 7 to 8 minutes, KD. I didn't even have to wash my hands with the other pleb riffraff in the front of the mirror. I did it all within the stall. And I was like, dude, now I know if I'm ever at this grocery store again, and I have a movement, I will take absolute pleasure in going in that bathroom. And it's like marked in my kind of just on my mental notepad of like places that if I can hold it till we get to the grocery store, I'll be good. So it was a total opposite experience there. So I had a good experience. So sorry that yours was so shitty, KD. But
I mean, your workplace, you gotta know the landscape though. If you haven't been to all the bathrooms in the museum by now, you need to get on that.
Well, I have, but that's the one I haven't been to, and it was the closest one. And there's just not enough time to switch bathrooms. But there is one that I go to. Like I go to the certain gallery, and then it's below that gallery into like an almost abandoned part of the building. And there's a bathroom that's in the hallway, another hallway. I feel like I'm like in reinforced underground, so I can be there, like screaming. And, there's no chance anyone hears that shit, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. So, okay.
It's all about there's strategy going into it. So,
gotcha. All right. Well, that's good. Enough of the potty talk. What is everybody? What has everybody been eating? Anything of note? Any Taco Bell fries? Did anybody do their homework?
I had yesterday. Hillary made a breakfast hash that was. It had like sweet potatoes, eggs, cilantro. I don't know, just like a bunch of different breakfast stuff. It was incredible.
Ooh,
it was incredible.
Amazing.
And she made like a whole skillet of it. And so I got to have it later too, because we had a bunch of it. And then this morning, this afternoon, because I have breakfast in the afternoon.
Sure.
I made scrambled eggs with turkey chorizo. I'd never had turkey chorizo before.
Okay.
But it was like, I think pretty much just as good as normal chorizo. But obviously like better for you because it's not
less fat content.
And it didn't. This might have just been the specific, brand or something, but it didn't it didn't pop as much as normal chorizo does. I don't know. I mean, if you don't cook chorizo, it's like whatever. But when you cook it, it's pretty greasy, which is nice because like you can just use that and then you can cook the eggs in it. But it can pop and you can get grease on you or hit your skin. This really didn't have much of that at all. So it was nice. It wasn't too greasy. I had like a nice scrambled eggs and turkey chorizo dish, which is like super easy because scrambled eggs is really easy, but like throwing in some chorizo just makes it so good and hearty.
So quickly.
Yeah,
that actually makes me want to try that because I'm not. I mean, I'll eat turkey sausage as a substitute, but chorizo, I love this flavoring of like a chorizo sausage. So I think that makes sense, like because the flavor is already there, and if it's just lower fat content, you still get that flavor.
Yeah,
so
I mean, like I don't see any reason why I would go with not turkey chorizo, like unless I can't find it or something. Because it was really good and obviously like leaner, better for you. Like chorizo, as much as I love it, is not a healthy option by any means.
Right.
So,
nice.
Yeah, had a pretty good weekend of breakfast foods.
That's good.
Cool.
What about you guys? Any notable foods?
My parents did come to visit a couple days ago, which is nice because we don't get to see each other all that often, and maybe like once every 2 or 3 months or so. But every time they do visit, they like to go out for like a really nice dinner. So we went to a really nice restaurant that specializes in steak. And I've never had this before, and it sounded great off the top, and it was amazing. It's called a sirloin Oscar, and so it was a sirloin steak with shrimp, scallops, asparagus, and béarnaise sauce, and it was spectacular. It was like one of the best steaks I've ever had in my life. Which was like, and I don't eat steak very often, so going out and doing like this is like an occasion. But with like the shrimp and the scallops, it was so good.
Oh,
that sounds awesome.
My mouth is watering as you describe that. Now, did you have any alcoholic beverages, Yang, with your meal?
I did.
Because I'm trying to connect all this together. Because I feel like every time you ever show up, possibly a little inebriated to my stream or another stream, it always seems to, not always, but a lot of times I feel like it coincides with when your parents visit, and there'll either be a picture of you maybe drinking some wine or having some scotch. I didn't know if I'm trying to piece it all together. And then I love when Yin gets a little, because he gets a little bit more, he loosens himself up a little bit. He gets a little, I don't know, what do we call it when that Yin comes out? I forget. There's a name for it.
Is there a word for that?
What? I don't know. I'll have to ask.
You make me feel like
Bingity Bang comes out.
Bingity Bang comes out whenever you make me feel like I like blacked out and typed something
terrible.
Oh no,
you didn't type anything bad. No, it's just
like
funny.
I came in and I was just like laying down the law on everyone.
Dude, you were showing everyone your dick. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I said
No, you came into the chat and you were like misspelling things, which is super uncharacteristic for you. Like not
that's
crazy. Just like, so like even if that happens, like you're so precise most of the time, I'm like, he had to have had a beverage.
We've talked about this before though, that my extreme version of everything is extremely tame compared to most people.
Oh, sure, yeah, of course.
And it'll be something along the lines of I'll be like, I didn't really like that, and then everyone's just like, "Ah, man, you're so toxic."
Exactly. Yeah, Ying is so nice normally that if he just expresses disapproval towards something, we're like, "Oh, he's roasting everybody tonight. He's nuts." Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like I have a unique opportunity with that. Like, I got to be careful about slipping into any kind of negativity, because I feel like I'm holding on to something where if I really decided, just for the funsies of it, just to like go off on someone, I think it'd be scary because like people would think I'm very serious.
Oh, dude, if you ever just decided to go like full, like even if it was a joke, just full roast mode on somebody, I don't even know everyone would just be like, well, first of all, we would be in shock. And then it would be like, is he serious or not? And then if we thought you were serious, that's when the fear would start. And people would be like, yeah, so
your vocabulary is way too good.
Yeah,
to like argue people, because they'll definitely be like, man, this is so artisanally crafted what he's saying to me. He has to mean it.
Yeah, you wield an incredible amount of power if you ever do decide to just really let somebody have it. So I look forward to that day if that ever happens.
You look forward to it like I'm charging it.
Like charging, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's good, man. Yeah, I didn't have anything near on par with that steak. Sounds delicious though. Or that hash, dude. I love breakfast hash. Is one of those things I barely ever like. I'll order it sometimes if I go out. I've never made it myself, but every time I have it, I'm like, man, why don't I eat breakfast hash more often?
Yeah, it was like
so
it was. I told her it was like, this is restaurant grade breakfast hash. Like it could have. I would have been served that in a restaurant and been happy with it.
You know what? I feel like I saw verbatim your review. and it was on Twitter. I'll see if I can find it.
That's right. She did tweet that. I think she did tweet that.
Yeah, she was very. She was definitely quoting me.
Yeah, I got it. It's
and I gave her permission for those quotes.
Phenomenal restaurant.
For your likeness.
5 stars out of 5. Would consume again.
Yes, I said all of those words.
Pretty good review.
Awesome
stuff. All right, guys.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
My dad's coworker actually treated my whole family to like dinner, which was really nice. We went to this will sound really hick, but we went to, I don't know if you guys have been to a Montana Mike's before. Yeah, I knew it.
That name is incredible.
Yeah, Montana Mike's.
I was just about to say, are you about to say he took you to Hooters? But Montana Mike's might even be better. Might be a better name.
Dude, yeah. It's like a, yeah, it's great. It's like a, I mean, my brother is joking, like maybe they took the entire fund of like all the money Montana had to make this restaurant. Like, yeah. But it was like a steakhouse. Like, I mean, it's not like exclusively like steak. It's more like a higher class Denny's, I guess. But
okay.
I opted for the chicken fried steak, and that was really good.
Solid. Nice.
Yeah. And then my dad made sliders again, which I don't want to trigger anybody, especially Scott, when I say that. But and this time actually he made his own ground beef for it.
Ooh.
And it turned out just phenomenal. So
again, the restaurant is always open in the Katie Zen household, man. I'm just jealous. I'm just jealous.
The kitchen.
When you say he made his own ground beef, you mean like, you know, he raised the cow in the backyard?
Did I not talk about the cow like all these episodes? No.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, he finally slayed old Betsy.
Right. Yeah, she's gone.
We had ground beef.
Yeah.
So what you're saying he ground his own ground beef is what you're saying?
Yes.
He used the KitchenAid or something and did different cuts, or what I'm curious is what
I believe so. I'm not familiar with the process behind it, and I feel bad.
I mean, it's okay.
I take his word for it.
Okay. Whatever he said. I'm guessing that means he probably ground his own ground beef and then seasoned it.
Yeah, he probably like seasoned it himself and like basically just got the meat from the butcher, you know, in sort of the raw form.
Right. That sounds right. That sounds correct.
Okay.
Nice. I'm doing him such a disservice right now.
He's like, listen. He's like, what?
It's like, really, son?
Yeah.
Come on. I told you this, so you'd say it on the podcast.
Say it properly.
Yeah. We'll have your dad on and interview him sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll beat this shit.
He's gonna sue you for defamation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
all right. It was delicious. That's all that matters, baby.
Good. All right, guys. What have we been playing this week? Jacob, let's start with you.
Wow, that really caught me off guard. I'm not used to hearing my own name like that.
That was on purpose. I wanted to see if that would throw you. Yeah.
I have been playing almost exclusively Subnautica. I'm starting. Like, I really fallen in love with that game. It is way deeper than I thought it was going to be. Visually, it is gorgeous.
I get it because it's a water game.
Good one.
Absolute unit.
Yeah. But it's like also one of the first games in such a long time that I think captures the feeling of exploration in a game. With all like the different ways that they have, like there's all these different biomes in like the map that gets generated that like stumbling upon a new area feels crazy and it's new and kind of scary because it's like ocean and it's deep and scary. But I really took it as just like an exploration game, and there's a lot more to it, like with the building and what you're trying to do. There's actually a story behind it, and all of like it tells a story of the world sort of like in game. Like you pick up these abandoned PDAs and they tell little snippets of stories of what happened about the planet before you crashed there. And it's I don't know. I thought it's a lot more fleshed out than I thought it was going to be, and I think I'm just very entertained by like that element catching me off guard. Because I thought this was going to be something I was going to be able to dump like maybe 5 or 6 hours into, but it's you know what? Actually, it's sort of like Minecraft but underwater. I'm just putting this together. That's sort of what it's like. You're like you're gathering resources and
right.
Oh my god, my world's coming crashing down now.
God.
But it sort of captures the same sort of adventurous feeling and being able to carve out survival in the world and everything like that. It's very good. I would definitely recommend Subnautica. And if you can, turning all the visuals up to high is incredible. It's a very, very pretty game.
Okay.
Awesome. How many hours do you have in it now? Yeah.
Boy, I'd have to check. Hold on. Give me one moment. I'm pull this up.
I feel like I'm gonna have to get that on like when it goes on sale the first time.
Yeah.
Because it's like it seems like a game that I can wait for, but I've been hearing so much good stuff about it, and you raving about it makes me think I have to try it.
I mean, I think the last time I recommended a game was They Are Billions, and you've ruined your sleep schedule with that game, right?
That's true. You're definitely batting 1,000 on your recommendations right
Great
now.
odds.
Yeah, I currently have 23 hours on the game right now.
Okay.
But yeah, Subnautica. If you have the chance to pick it up, you have the time to. It's also very easy to quit in and out of. Same way with like They Are Billions. There's no commitment to finish out anything. Like the only time I find myself getting stuck in the game longer than I anticipated was just because like you get stuck in the trap of, oh, I'll just do this one more thing and then I'll save and quit. And then you do that one thing, you're like, actually, there's one more thing that I should probably do before I quit out. And then sooner or later, it's like 3 hours later, and you're. Yeah, it's one of those games, and it's whenever a game does that to me, I have a hard time not recommending it.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't think I've heard anybody say anything bad about Subnautica. It's definitely one of those like across the board, critically acclaimed experiences.
I've also heard a lot of people saying that it's. I can see this too, saying that it's really good in VR, and it seems like a game that would be made for a very good VR experience.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I've watched a little bit of it. I've tried not to spoil it because I would like to play it at some point, because I didn't realize I thought it was one of those just open-ended, kind of like you, Yang, like hearing you talk about how there's such a story to it and stuff. Like one of those open-ended, just like build forever and there's no real end game kind of thing.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like you just
honestly,
keep going
I really thought it was just like this open, beautiful. Like I thought it was almost like a tech demo, where I was like, look how beautiful we can make this ocean kind of thing. But turns out there's actually there's like a huge survival element to it. There's a story, you have objectives, and it's
cool.
A lot of fun.
Nice.
Cool.
Very cool. All right. So Yang's been hitting that Subnautica. KD, what about you? What you been playing?
I've been sticking to Slay the Spire a lot. That game is really dangerous because you start a run and you're committed to that for like an hour, and committed in the way that you don't want to stop. Like you just want to keep going and going. It's a really, really satisfying game to play when it comes to like once you go from just picking cards that look like they'll be good to actually like building a deck around cards that work. It really starts to take shape, and the game has some pretty insane like difficulty spikes. Like after you pass like the first boss and on, it really starts ramping up. So, and I love how the game, like you get to the point where I've only gotten to the 3rd level in the game so far. Like it's like the 3rd dungeon. I don't think there are more past that, because that would be insane. But I get to the point where even just like normal encounters in there, I'm like sweating, looking at all my cards, my potions, like what's the best possible thing I could do here, which, you know, is cool for me because, like, you know, you grow up playing Yu-Gi-Oh with your brother, you get into some intense shit, you think about what's the best thing I can do. So it's pretty cool there, really fun. But it's got some like kinks I'd like to like see changed, you know, for early access. Like, I mean, not like outright flaws, but there are little things like you get like a certain benefit in your run, like but you can only get to it if you in your previous run have gotten to at least the first boss. So if you have a run that you start and it turns out shitty, it kind of punishes you for resetting if you want to abandon your run. Which, I mean, I see why they're doing that, but it can be pretty like unsatisfying when like it forces you to do like make the most of what you're given. But let's say if you use the benefit that's like you can get a random relic which add little augments to your style of play, and you get one that's like, oh, I can no longer gain gold for this entire run because I have this benefit. I don't want to play with that, you know. So it's a little thing, but I'd like to see like something else done with that. but I understand why it's in the game. But overall, it's still been very fun. And I also picked up Them's Fighting Herds that we talked about last week.
Oh god, I know. I saw your tweets about it.
Yeah. That's if you're unfamiliar, it's the My Little Pony fighting game in a way. It's not ponies, they're dragons. No, but it seemed really promising at first because of like all the time put into it and the animation. They actually got permission from Lab Zero to use the same engine that Skullgirls used. And it really shows because the game feels like extremely solid. And there's a lot of promise. There are only 6 characters, but they feel like really varied and like really unique. And they all have like, their own like distinct personalities. And so it's very fun. And the online works very well going into lobbies. And like it's got some, I haven't had a laggy match yet. I haven't played like too insane amount of time of it, but they're going online, like they enable voice chat in the lobbies, and there's all this like community stuff about getting salt and like mining the salt mines and opening chests for like cosmetics and things. So there's no story in the game yet. There's just an arcade and training and stuff like that. So it's a little thing to tide you over. But if you don't have online, then you're probably not going to enjoy this. But you bought it off of Steam, of course you're going to have it on. But and there are a couple little early access things like the menus for training mode are a little wacky because like if you want to get into the game and do trials, which are like they set up certain combos for your character that you can like rehearse and learn, but those are like buried, which is like a standard for fighting games today, but those are like buried within like 3 or 4 different sub menus and training, so the interface is kind of bad. But yeah, it's nothing that they can't fix. It's only early access. So, and then also like some effects look pretty bad, like this one character does like a tornado move that is just a JPEG that floats across the screen.
Really?
It's like, ooh, yeah.
JPEG?
So,
okay.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have like the Sony Vegas like white border around the image as it moves, like none of that. But it just needs like more polish because in some areas it looks like that, but in a lot of areas it does look really nice. So I've been enjoying that, and probably gonna put a lot more time into that. I don't think it's gonna get. Do you think this is a
game that will get like? Do you think there's any kind of not serious buzz, obviously, but do you think people will? Or do you think people will play it? Will it get like a fun kind of goofy tournament at like any kind of LAN events or anything like that?
I think it's definitely a game that could like. It definitely has the potential to get to that place where it's like it's revered, but they definitely need to like polish it up, add in the necessary features, and it just depends on like how much of the people like rally behind it, because there's the obvious off-putting thing of it being the My Little Pony fighting game, like
right.
It's some people are just like really uncomfortable by that, but if you can get past that, it's a great game, and I would love for to see for it to pick off. It's actually like for a fighting game, it's got a surprising like player base. Like in the first couple days, I'm not sure if it's taken like a hard spike, but it's up to like 1,000 concurrent players. But which like for a fighting game on Steam and like indie game, it's pretty good. So nice. I'm hoping it does a lot better. So yeah, Them's Fighting Herds is pretty good, and I didn't play it too much, but Steins Gate is a visual novel that I've been kind of going back to here and there. And once I switched from playing it, it's on PS Vita. And once I switched from reading that on Vita to like actually playing it off on my TV, my enjoyment of that skyrocketed because like, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how Japanese people do it because like visual novels on like PSPs are huge in Japan. Like you see everybody on trains reading that shit, that hentai, I can't do that. It's like killing my neck having to look down at this the whole time. So once I got it on TV, it was much more like it felt normal. So I'm excited to play through that because like I was about to drop it despite hearing from so many people it's like the best visual novel like that's been made. So
wow. But
yeah, that's all I played.
All right. Good stuff. Brandon, what about you? Did you play any games this week?
Yeah. I still been playing Rocksmith. Just been practicing playing a bunch of custom songs. It's been super fun. And then when Ying's talking about a game that makes you want to do one more thing before you log off, and then all of a sudden it's 3 hours later. Speaking of that feeling, the new Diablo season started on Friday.
Oh boy!
And there so so I've been playing a bit of Diablo like Friday and yesterday night, which it's super fun. I mean, I think Diablo is I don't know what it is about Diablo, but just every season I am good for like probably 20 to 30 hours of playing that season, and then I just put it down. And so since this season started on a Friday, it was kind of fun to sort of be on the first night when, you know, even like the best players in the world are, you know, doing like really low rifts and everyone's kind of starting off the same place. So that's been fun. I mean, I think I put like probably 10 hours into it this weekend. Maybe not that much, I don't know. But I already have a, you know, pretty decent build. I feel like it's so quick to gear. I think I'm already like Paragon 400 plus, which just is like, it's funny when you think about back into the early days of Diablo. That would have taken so long, and you literally can get it in a night now. So the power creep is very real in Diablo. But I feel like that's, you know, for a game like Diablo, that's kind of the point. Like, you want to just keep feeling stronger and stronger. And you know, it's like the season thing works really well. I don't know what it is, but they've got me hooked once, you know, once each season. And yeah, we have like Drake in the chat. There are a few people in KBMOD that they go pretty hard, definitely harder than I do each season. But it's such a fun, like Diablo is just such a fun game to play sort of mindlessly with friends. And you can kind of hop in and hop out yourself, but when you have a friend on, it really just like the hours just fly by in a way that you know, I often don't game like that anymore. You know, I game in a little smaller doses. But man, Diablo, it's just like you'll log on at 7 p.m., you know, after you've eaten dinner, and all of a sudden it's 4 a.m. and that's been my past 2 nights.
Okay. Gotcha. How does that work out for you on work nights? Probably not great.
Well, that's the thing is I try not to play like I know myself well enough that I try not to play like that on work nights. But then on the weekend, I'm definitely, you know, I kind of let myself go a little bit and revert back into the Brandon of, you know, of prior days. We're staying up until 4 a.m. wasn't as big a deal. Back in the high school and college days when that was just that was just called life. That was just called, you know, that was called I'm home from class, and so I'm gonna be playing games.
Good stuff. Okay. Anything else besides Diablo?
No, that's about it. I think. Well, I can't remember if this was since last cast, but still playing a little bit of Fortnite. I haven't spent any money on the game, but it's just, I mean, it's a great free to play game. And they just dropped we'll talk about it in the news, but they just dropped their new. The new update, and I haven't played it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. So I'll probably play some of that this week.
Sweet. All right, and then I guess I'll go. I got a couple this week. The biggest one I wanted to talk about was so we had talked about Kingdom Come last week coming out, I think, or maybe it was the week before. But that was, I think it was in the new releases. But Kingdom Come Deliverance, the RPG. And so I was convinced by some people in my chat to like pick it up. It's not a game I would traditionally think I was interested in. I'm not a huge RPG fan in general, and I haven't really completed all that many in my gaming history. But for some reason, this game I can't. This game really has got its claws in me. I'm still early on in it, but it has a couple things I didn't expect. One is like the production value. So it is a $60 game, but like the voice acting, story, and cutscenes in it are like extremely top notch, like really, really well done. The voice acting and everything. And then it feels, so it's clearly was modeled after, a lot of people compare it to like Oblivion, and like the Bethesda kind of style. It definitely is deeper, I think, and it feels like in some areas, but it looks a lot, there's a lot of stuff that looks like straight up almost ripped.
It has a very similar aesthetic.
Yes, very similar aesthetic. Like but visually it's pretty. Yeah, obviously it's like a lot better looking than something like that because of the age. But it's really good. I'm having a blast with it so far. I've my failures with the game though have this week I pretty much made one of my mods, Jeff, in my chat had clipped a couple things that were on live stream fail and pretty much blew up. Someone got me to quit the game via console when I was like a fucking idiot. So I was like, it was right at the beginning of the game, and they were talking about going into third person mode. And so like, I'm like, people are kind of telling me real stuff and fake stuff. So I'm like, not really paying attention. And at one point, someone who wasn't even a sub, or I think just came to the stream because I was playing the game, goes, yeah, so Q will let you go in third person, but it's buggy on horse. But if you open up console and hit Q, you can bind it or something like that. And so I'm not thinking. And I just open it up and I type Q, and obviously what happens, the game instantly quits and closes on me. And I realized it instantly once I did it. But so that I was like, I don't think that's the first time that I've been playing games a long time, and that has never happened to me. And then additionally, I was struggling with the lockpicking mechanic in the game, which I later found out had everything to do with sensitivity and not my own skill, which again, I couldn't figure it. The mechanic's weird because obviously, like, if you're playing something like Skyrim or whatever else, or Oblivion on console, you have the force feedback with the lockpicking, which I always felt was helpful. And in this game, it was like the mechanic's not that complicated, but the way that you would have to move the cursor to like spin the lock, I could not get it. I kept breaking locks. I was like, I can't figure this out. So what do? I'm in this mission where I have to lockpick, or I thought I did. I had to lockpick to get this item, and I have 4 lockpicks, and you have to keep reloading if you mess it up because you don't have lockpicks. So Tab comes into the room, my lovely fiance, and I'm like, and she's like, oh, I can probably do it. And I'm like, I'll give you $50. I was like, I haven't been able to lockpick once. I will give you $50 if you sit down and you do this within 4 lockpicks. She breaks the first one right away. The second one, she does it like instantly, like flawlessly. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And so that one, yeah, you can see the clips. There you go. They're putting them into chat. They blew up. The insane pick has 100,000 views. That clip that was on live stream fail. Wow. And then the other one, the tricked into quitting, has 34,000. So basically, people have just seen me absolutely fumble around in this game and have enjoyed it. But despite all of that, the game is really good. I'm actually really, really enjoying it, and I'm engrossed by the story, and I really like the gameplay, and it's a fun kind of diversion from the stuff I normally play. And plus, I like it because it's something that I can always go back to and continue to. Like it's like probably a 60-hour game. So it's like I can play something and then do it at the end of the stream, or play it for a few hours here and there, and I don't have to feel like, okay, I have to finish it right now. But it's pretty good. It was one that I didn't anticipate enjoying as much as I do. So there was that, and then the Hunt Showdown came out of alpha and it's in early access now. And so you can buy it. I think we had talked about that a bit. That's the Crytek game. That's the PvE, PvP, where you go around a map. It's killing monsters, killing like whatever. I don't even know what they call the infected on the map. And then you basically have to kill this boss and then collect his essence and escape. It's kind of got elements from Escape from Tarkov, and a couple other different games. You have permadeath in the game, so like if your character dies, you lose everything with that if you don't extract. It's really good. It's fun. So I played a bit of that as well. It's not well optimized yet. So that's one thing. But I hope it seems like it's actually selling really well on Steam right now, and the core and bones of the game are super, super good. So definitely, if you're interested in like something that's first person and maybe a little bit of a spin from the normal genres, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, the way that game looks and the sound design is incredible. Just watching you play it.
Yeah, it's great. The sound design is great. So you can do daytime or nighttime missions. Nighttime missions are definitely, they're super nerve-wracking. And it's really thrilling. Like, the combat gets really intense because you could be going through the entire game. Like so basically you go through, you have to collect 3 different clues that then tell you the location of where the boss is. Everyone is trying to kill the same boss while simultaneously staying alive from all the PvE elements, all the other creatures on the map. While also watching your back, trying to decide when to engage and kill other players. And obviously, basically, you're trying to kill the monster, get the bounty, and escape, and continue to keep your character alive to level up. And so, I don't know, it just has a lot of really cool elements, and it's executed really well. The sound design, the visuals, it's great. Yeah, I think again, I look forward to see what they continue to do with the game. But right now, it's I would say if you're going to pick up something early access, I think it's definitely worth picking up. You just have to be ready for like, you know, it not running fantastically or servers being down because it is early access. But it's $30. It's not like it's a $60 ass. So, and then I also played some Fortnite, and I played some Battalion 1944, both with Sark, which was fun. Sark really enjoyed Battalion 1944, which was cool to be able to show him that. So yeah, I played decent amount of stuff. But yeah, I think that's it. I think I got all of it. I should have had a notepad open like Brandon had last week. It's rare that I that many games. I have to say with Fortnite, I'm kind of disillusioned and discouraged because the game has blown up so much since I was playing it like months ago, that people are so fucking good now that I feel like I'll never be able to catch up. You know what I mean? Like the skill ceiling now is so high. And like back in the day, it was before everyone was still playing PUBG. I had ample opportunity to get ahead of that skill if I had stuck with it and just played it consistently, but I didn't. And now it's like, dude, people are nuts at building, and you know, that's something I was never strong at, so I would have to practice.
The top tier is really good. I mean, like if you watch some of the top streamers, they're on another level in terms of like how quickly they can build and just everything. Like the mechanics are on another level. But I've noticed when I've played, maybe it's just because there are so many people playing that you know, like the matchmaking, I haven't been in games where I feel completely outmatched by the other side. And you know, I've been able to win several games, and I've only really played, you know, 10 15 hours maybe. So I feel like you would feel that way maybe for your first few games, but most people that are playing do not seem to have that crazy building skill.
Right.
But
it is a lot of it
is
watching the side
really
effects. High. It is like it's like you're saying, Brandon. It's the side effect of watching people stream it that are really good. So, and then you're like, but you're right. And occasionally, no. Like I played a few games and we did okay and stuff like that. It's just like Sark described it best: is the Fortnite's frustrating because his reactions can't do what his mind wants to do. Yeah. Because there is, like you said, the skill set is high. And I said, I feel like Fortnite is more comparable to something like StarCraft with the building, like what you can do actions per minute than any other game of its kind that's a shooter.
That's
because
an interesting comparison,
you basically, like, if you watch like Ninja or people that are extremely good at the game, every action they are getting, the reason they're so good is they're not wasting any movement, they're not wasting any like healing or building. It's really dialed in. And so if you're really good at that, you're going to be really good at that game. And so I don't know, I think that's just an interesting kind of difference than, because we talk about, obviously we're going to talk about PUBG and Fortnite, which we can't not in every podcast because they're the two biggest games in the world right now. But I do think that's a pretty interesting difference. You don't have that in PUBG. Like obviously the actions you make in PUBG are important, but it's not, the pace is much slower.
Yeah, and the building in Fortnite, there's no cooldown on building another item. So basically, like building a big complex structure, you know, that's many stories high, is pretty much only limited by how quickly you can actually click the right buttons to get it there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's as fast as you can do it and as accurate as you can do it. And so yeah, it's cool. It'll be interesting to see. Like, I don't really know about like esports ramifications or anything for that game. It's hard to. I mean, I'm sure that they're thinking about that kind of stuff, but it'll be really interesting to see, because obviously we've seen PUBG on Twitch with the Invitational, all that kind of stuff recently with ESL, and so I don't know. We'll see, but it's crazy, man. The battle royales they've taken over, I think it's fair to say. But all right, so before we jump into some news here, we had alluded to having a bit of an announcement that we had to talk to you guys about. So I think we're going to do that now, as opposed to at the end of the cast, so that most people that are going to be here are going to be able to hear this. And if you're listening to the audio version, that doesn't apply to you, of course, because I know that you listen from the very beginning to the very end. Nobody skips around on the KBMOD podcast. You guys are great listeners. But so yeah, so the thing that we have to talk about is we have done the KBMOD podcast for, obviously, as this episode is recorded, 311 episodes. I don't know how many years that is. It's over 5 years, right, Brandon? I don't know exactly the date we started.
It's well over 5 years.
It's well over 5.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember I bet I could look up the date of our first episode.
We'd have to look. We'd have to look to go back. But it's been a long time, and it's been a blast doing it as long as we have. But recently, Brandon and I and the guys, we've been talking about just the ability for us to keep doing it on a weekly basis going forward. And obviously, as you guys know, there's a lot of stuff going on in my life. Brandon's a busy guy. I mean, Katie Zen's got nothing going on, but you can't get mad at that. He's a young, no, I'm kidding, Katie. But obviously, as you get older, things happen and things get tougher to execute. And so we had done some conversations internally talking about balancing wanting to continue to do this as long as we can against just real life responsibilities about do we have 4 or 5 hours every Sunday night to be able to continue to give to this podcast? And Brandon and I were talking about it pretty much at length. We're obviously, as the two, I guess, original or OG members continuing on the cast throughout all the years, we had to decide and talk about hey, where are we at with it? And so basically where we're at with it is that as much as we love doing this podcast, and we do, I mean, I really do. I mean, I think we have a fantastic group. I think we have some of the best chem that we do with Ying and Katie and Brandon and I when we're all on together, as we have had with honestly with anybody on the cast, even going back to the first episode. So we are really happy with it, but it's just not something time-wise that I can really reliably make anymore. Obviously, I've been able to be on the last couple of weeks, but that's not something that's going to be going forward, going to be able to be guaranteed. Brandon does a lot of the heavy lifting with the podcast when it comes to obviously hosting it and even the doc and the editing and all the other stuff that goes on. And so we had to make a hard decision where we said okay, as much as we enjoy doing it, is continuing to do it the way that we've been doing it feasible for the foreseeable future? And I think, Brandon, the answer that we came to is it's really not anymore.
Yeah. We thought about some different ideas, do we want to change it into a monthly show or bi-weekly, or change the format of it where it's less time consuming, but we can still do something consistently. Right. But we just weren't really happy with any of those potential options. And it's basically we don't want to end up in a place where we have to force ourselves to try and do a show consistently that is not high quality. And right. I feel like we feel like it's our job to do a high quality show when we put one on, at least to the best of our ability. You right. can like it or not like it, but especially I think with Scott, and having a new family, I think we need to going forward, we're gonna have different priorities. And sure. And I think we want to recognize that early instead of get to a point where it becomes a burden on anyone to continue doing a weekly show. So right. So with that, we're gonna do the next episode 312.
Yes.
Is gonna be the final episode before what we're calling an indefinite hiatus. We're not saying it's gone forever. But right. we are going to kind of put the podcast on the shelf, and kind of finalize it, at least in its current form, for a while. Maybe not forever. Maybe we'll bring it back someday. Who knows? But next episode 312, we're going to do kind of a final episode for this chapter, and hopefully have some guests on. So this episode is going to be the last normal episode. We're going to talk about news, new releases, all that. Next episode will be a little more kind of reminiscing, just talking more with people that have been on before, that sort of thing. Want to be clear that KBMOD is still going to be around. Yes. This only affects the podcast specifically. Right. So that's I just want to be clear. We're still planning to definitely do something with Extra Life this year. We're still going to do streams. In fact, we're hoping to maybe do some sort of stream that may happen during this time slot on Sunday nights. I think KD and Ying, like Scott said, we've been awesome to have them on and have such great chemistry with these guys. Sorry, they're not.
I want to stress that. Just to that point, which I'm sure we'll get more sappy, but on the last episode before I do so now, but. When Brandon and I were talking about it, and then we brought it to Katie and Yang, we wanted to make it clear it wasn't any we weren't like dissatisfied with the product or like the chemistry. Like it was actually the opposite. Like before we actually had a steady roster of people, because we went through a time where it was Brandon and I mostly, but then we were like, I don't know who else we're gonna have on. And so that was like the hardest time, I feel like, Brandon, right? Where it was kind of like disillusioning, like, all right, I don't know. But now that we have KD and we have Ying, it's been like, it kind of breathed, for me, it breathed life back into the podcast, because I just like, we end up talking for 2.5, 3 hours and it's effortless. So huge thank you to these two gentlemen. It has nothing to do with that.
It's been really fun to do the podcast with these guys, and so that's what it really just comes down to, kind of being able to put on a consistent show with everything else that that Scott and I have going on in our lives. And I think when I look back at I just saw like our first episode, I think aired in July 2011.
Oh my god.
So we've been doing this for like seven-ish years. So I think that's a pretty good run. Most podcasts definitely don't make it that long with anywhere near the consistency that we were able to kind of hold up. So I'm proud of that, and I'm proud that we had what I think is like a pretty great product through a lot of different changes in like people's lives and stuff. Like it's really cool to look back and see some people that were here several years ago, and now we've talked about this before, but like you could have been in high school and now you've like graduated college. It's been cool to be like part of people's lives for a long time, and and so hopefully we'll still be able to do that, and share our lives with people, on the KBMOD Twitch channel, on Scott's Twitch channel. Like there's still going to be stuff going on. We'll still be around. Nothing is really changing, I think, in that regard. And I definitely hope, for everyone's sake, for our sake too, that that KD and Ying are still very much a part of what happens at KBMOD. But the podcast, the weekly show that happens every Sunday night, is going to be on hiatus after next week.
Yep. So that is the deal. So again, a huge thank you to everybody that again, like I said, this is all stuff that's going to get said ad nauseum for 3/12. But everybody that has supported the podcast, and people that have stuck with us, like we said, through all the different rosters, through the changes, whatever else, it means a lot. Like we've had a blast doing the show. I don't. I've been doing the KBMOD podcast longer than than my current relationship, which is like 3+ years. So again, that should put in perspective, like it is something that means a lot to us, and that we've wanted to keep doing. So we don't do this. This is not like an easy, I don't think, decision by any means, but we did feel it was definitely the right one. So, but thank you to all of you guys who have supported us. And we're not, we still got one more normal episode, which is this one. We're going to get into all the stuff that triggers us, like always. So I know get the tissues out, wipe the tears away. It's okay. We don't have to do that until, and again, like I said, it's an indefinite hiatus. It doesn't mean that there won't be special episodes, or like who knows what could possibly fill this time slot. But so blow your nose, suck it up, Georgie, and let's get through this one. And then hopefully you better sure as hell make your ass come out. I don't care what you're doing. Try to be here live for episode 312 on next Sunday night. And that'll be good. It'll be a good episode. So
yeah, if you listen to the audio feed, this is your chance. Like, come and show up live to our episode 312. It's going to be Sunday. That's March 4th, and we start more or less around 10 p.m. Eastern. So come, let's go out with a bang. I think this is meant to be like kind of a happy thing. Like we're not sad it's ending. Like this is just we're closing a chapter, and like I think the coolest thing is that like we have literally days of content that like I think it'll be fun to go back and listen to some of the earlier episodes, from the very beginning. And there's probably some stuff there that I've long since forgotten that it will be fun to remember. So yeah, show up next week if you can, if you're around. Let's make the next episode special, and I hope you guys will join us for that one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So with that in mind, let us jump into news. So I was going to say, so in bittersweet news, but this isn't bittersweet news. This is just frustrating news. So the segue doesn't really work. But maybe you're frustrated. Maybe you're frustrated that the podcast is ending, even if you can understand, or at least going on hiatus indefinitely for some amount of time. And equally frustrating is the fact that Hardware Seller Mass Drop says that NVIDIA predicts graphic card prices will continue to go up throughout the year. Now we've been talking about this for a minute. We've been saying like, hey, dude, the crypto miners, they're killing everything. I mean, if you've looked at video card prices in the last, I don't know, even at the end of last year, they were insane, and they continue to be.
It's only been going up more and more. Like they've been a little out of control for a few months, but just recently, it's gotten really bad.
Yeah. And so you could say, well, how does Hardware Seller Mass Drop? What do they mean that NVIDIA says? Well, you can't just be like, oh, are they just trying to start shit? No, they heard this pretty much directly from NVIDIA, that they are anticipating that well into Q3 of this year, prices are going to continue to rise, and there's not honestly that much that they can do about it. And I don't think it's shocking news, but it's definitely when you hear it from the people producing the cards themselves, you can pretty much bank on that being a fact. So
yeah,
I don't know, guys.
The other piece of this too, at least from discussion on Mass Drop, which I guess seems reliable, is basically that Apple and Samsung and like cell phone makers have there's been a memory shortage, and they've been basically paying more to get the memory first. And so that is causing supply issues for graphics cards makers, who have the shortage of these chips, and obviously don't have the purchasing power of Apple and Samsung. So it's basically like there's just a lot of factors making the market really poor right now, which is a shame, because I feel like it's very tough to get someone into PC gaming right now, because all of the video card prices are completely out of whack, and and a video card, unfortunately, is like you gotta have one for a gaming PC. I mean, integrated.
It's not one of those like vanity purchases, like a 4K monitor or something, where you can be like, do I really need that? It's like, no, you need something beefy.
And that's the thing, is like it's affecting pretty much all cards all the way down. Even if you don't need a super powerful card, even the 1050s and 1060s are like crazy expensive for what they should be. So I hope we can get out of this, sooner rather than later, because it is. I think it's basically going to lead to kind of that downturn in the PC market, because people are going to stop buying. People are going to stop spending money on something because it's so expensive, and that could cause downstream problems for the manufacturers of these cards. Like I don't know what the market ends up looking like a couple years from now because of this sort of weird period. Is it in 2 years, are video card prices still going to be above MSRP? Like that would be wild. We've never seen that before.
That'd be ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think the message we're trying to send here with the podcast on hiatus and with graphics card prices going up is that consoles are a future, baby. It's never been a better time to.
That's a great point. I didn't actually say that, but I was hoping people would read between the lines there, Katie. But thank you for spelling it out.
The podcast is actually becoming a cryptocurrency operation.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
We need to conserve. Instead of broadcasting, we actually need to take it offline, so that we have our full computing power used for the blockchain.
It's and it's pretty interesting. A couple of people came in my chat and were talking about pre-built PCs that they bought. Like Micro Center was having a deal. The specs were solid. I think he paid $1,500 or $1,600. He got a 1070 and like a really good, I forget what Intel processor he got, but like the build was really solid.
Yeah.
And it's like if he was to buy that card by itself, it was like he was going to get fleeced for like close to $1,000, and he got a full.
The market makes no sense right now, because the pre-built manufacturers, a lot of times will have like bulk deals and stuff, so they don't have to charge as much. You know, and obviously, like, they want to continue selling PCs, so they're not going to raise the price of their PCs if they can help it. But yeah, like I mean, we're not. This is not. This is an exaggeration a little bit, but I mean, yeah, literally, like, you could buy a pre-built PC and almost resell the video card and like make money off it. Like, there's this weird. There's like this weird arbitrage opportunity because of this craziness around video cards.
Yep. Yeah, it's outrageous. I have friends personally who are all trying to build PCs around this time, and it's so frustrating because they're trying to like work their way around. Some are going to eBay, which is just, oh my god, don't get your graphics cards from eBay. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
So hopefully this passes quickly.
Yeah, so here, us here in the PC gaming world, I feel like right now, you know, we kind of got a band together. If you've got, you know, if you got like an old 970 or something, if you've got this is the time where you put together Frankenstein PCs to help out your friends. You know, if your friend's video card dies, this is when you got to show your loyalty. You got to be like, look, I'll give you, you know, my used old card, and you know, I'm not going to overcharge you.
It's simple. You just tell all your friends. You give them whatever monster or Frankenstein build you can put together. You tell them, listen. You just run the game at 1024 by 768, and you'll be totally fine. just run it at that resolution, and you can run pretty much everything.
Prices go up, resolutions go down.
Go down. That's exactly right.
That's funny. Honestly, like, you're kind of not wrong.
I'm not kidding. Like, lower that res band if you're going to play anything super like new, because yeah, the old cards, man, can't keep up. Like, anyway. So yeah, so definitely a bit of frustrating news, but I don't know. Like, is this the okay? I shouldn't say the darkest timeline to be, you know, because we're obviously all PC gamers and we enjoy it, but we're dealing with, like, we constantly talk about the you know, loot boxes and horrible practices by game companies of basically taking all of our money for limited amounts of content or broken games. We've got the early access phase. Video cards are, I mean, beyond ridiculously priced because of cryptocurrency. You know, can't even tell your friends to build a PC right now in good conscience. Like, you know, we've enjoyed some pretty golden years as PC gamers. We've talked about it quite a bit. The last maybe 3 to 5, we've been like, it's pretty good.
I think ever since, honestly, like ever since the 2500K. I feel like that was kind of the turning point where you just saw PCs get super cheap for a ton of power. Yeah. And frankly, like, we've been spoiled some of those years.
True.
I think I didn't expect it to ever get like to this point. But we have seen we've seen so many improvements in processing power and graphical power. And frankly, like, the prices have more or less stayed the same. You know, like, Nvidia always has that like $500 or $600 card, but every year it gets more and more powerful. So it's like, it will be interesting to see what happens with the next generation of graphics cards, because we've been on the 10 series for Nvidia for a little while now, and I'm wondering if this will cause them to slow down, because they're basically just trying to keep up with production of their current series. Like, if they're selling out right now, what is their incentive to continue, like, making a new series? Why wouldn't they just hold on to it, and when the market starts to cool off a little bit, then you drop your new series? Like, that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen. But
yeah, that hurts too, because the advancement of overall, like, GPUs is halted by this. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, it's realistically, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances. But if we want to look at it optimistically, we have had a pretty good run in PC gaming, and so hopefully you've got some used parts out there that you can, you know, offload to your friends in this time of need. You know, no one out there should be paying $800 for a 1070. Like, just don't do it.
That's it's time to invest in our newest endeavor as KBMOD, Barn Door Coin.
Here it is. As well.
Used hardware sold on the blockchain.
All right. Well, moving on from frustrating news to downright infuriating news. This is actually, I organized the news for this section by frustrating to infuriating, because that's always what really gets us going here on the podcast. And so I can say 3 words: Metal Gear Survive. And right away, people have all kinds of very visceral reactions to that. you know, unless you've been living under a rock, you know the whole Kojima story. You know that this current game has nothing to do with the actual Metal Gear canon or anything like that story. Like it's literally a survival zombie in a different universe, right? Isn't that what they said on the page? To just give them carte blanche to do
basically
whatever?
A wormhole opens up in this Metal Gear universe and sucks in a bunch of people to go fight zombies. That's literally the plot of this game.
And so, you know, Konami... Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, like, the alternate universe with the wormhole opening up is, like, just a little bit better than the end of the game where the character wakes up and it was all a dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what that feels like to me.
It is. Yeah, it's so shitty. Like
so obviously Metal Gear Survive is from probably the most, if not one of the most hated game companies, Konami at the moment. You've got it shitting on the Metal Gear legacy, or a lot of people thought it would. The reviews have been coming out. It, by all accounts, is not good at all. 2 knots there. And on top of that, it turns out that Metal Gear Survive is charging money for extra save slots. When you thought you're like, it can't get worse than this, right? Like they've already shit on the franchise. How much more scummy could it get? Well, how about over $10 worth of scummy to purchase the in-game currency amount required to get more space to maybe, you know, make another character or do whatever else. And so this, I'm going to ask a question, and this may sound insane, but could this be? Is it possible that Konami is going full scorched earth, fuck the world mode? Is it possible? Because there's no way that anybody that works at that company doesn't realize the way this looks and all this other stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they don't care, maybe they're immune. But I'm starting to wonder, it's almost too, it's like they're giving us headlines. It's like they want the game to fail. I don't know how else to describe it if they think that, because this game the reception was terrible for it off the bat. So for them to continue to go through with these tone deaf changes, I feel like it's either they're so tone deaf that you know, they just don't get it. But part of me thinks that they might just be imploding from the inside. Like, is this sabotage? Is there a sleeper agent at Konami that is in his own mind being like, yeah, we'll put this in, we'll fucking take this company under, dude. Like for what they did to my boss. Yeah, go ahead, put in paid save slots. Let's see. I mean, again, it will affect Konami's bottom line ultimately. Probably not. I don't know what this game is going to sell. I don't think it was going to sell well anyway. But you look at the stuff and you go, what are they fucking thinking? It literally doesn't make sense. I mean, you say like, yeah, all they care about is money. I guess they figure, but how many people are buying this? Maybe they figure enough people are going to buy this that the outrage is worth it. I mean, they must. That has to be the calculation. If there's not something bigger going on.
It really is like shocking just how much Konami does not give a fuck about the consumer in any capacity. Like you'd think after, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, they started, you know, making dumb decisions like this. It'd be like, okay, well, they're definitely going to gain some negative PR from this, and hopefully that'll influence. No, they're spiraling down into making you pay $10 for more save slots in games. Like this isn't a fucking MMO. Come on, buddy, this is a survival game. It's so shocking, and it makes you like. Before I heard about this, I was thinking, what's the next step Konami's going to take? And this is it. And now I'm wondering, how are they? I know they're going to find a way to push the bar, like, or to sink even lower. And so
even when I saw this article, I was like, okay, like maybe it'll be $1 for a save slot. I was like, okay, I mean, I can still be outraged, but maybe it'll be $1. I was like, even prepared, like maybe it'll be $5. But when I saw the breakdown that it was essentially $10. Like that's not even like half poking the bear. That's fucking taking the stick and sticking up the bear's ass, dude. Like, yeah, exactly. But again, it must be calculated that like, whatever, dude. Like, yeah, we know Konami loves money, but I don't know. It just seems like such sabotage on a product that already most people, I feel like, aren't going to buy. But I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see the sales of this game. But I can't really think of anybody that I've talked to that has any interest, just because the whole breakup with Kojima from Konami anyway was so public. You know, I mean, if you're at all interested in the Metal Gear franchise, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm sure there's some casual Metal Gear fans that maybe don't know. But I feel like if you're at all somebody that enjoys it or even is half paying attention, you know the story, and you're probably like, fuck that company. I'm not going to buy that anyway.
Yeah, it already feels like a little bit of a cash in on the Metal Gear name in the first place, and adding this into it is, I mean, is just egregious, I think. On top of that, because like I feel like the people who bought this game presumably are like such hardcore Metal Gear fans that they're ignoring the sort of all of the other circumstances around Konami. I think charging for save slots is just it doesn't seem like good business to me. Like this just seems like it's definitely
right. It doesn't
seems
seem
like it seems like someone, you know, running the business off a spreadsheet instead of sort of understanding like qualitatively what you would and wouldn't want to charge for, you know. But I guess on the other hand, you know, there is this perverse 2018 argument that no publicity is bad publicity. Like the fact that there are even articles getting written about this,
it just
maybe they're making more money. Like I don't know. That would be sick and disgusting, but it's possible that just the publicity from these like weird choices and these anti-consumer practices are actually making them more money. I don't know. But I don't think crazy. I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, I would be surprised if any other company would be this brazen, like to try this, because I feel like you're potentially hamstringing your game right off the bat. Like this doesn't seem like the publicity you would want. If I was working on this game, this is like, I wouldn't want to be reading articles like this about the thing I worked on. So I really don't know. Like I'd love to be a fly on the wall in Konami and understand what drives, you know, this sort of monetization. Like I get if you want to do microtransactions, but like this is not a novel, interesting way to do it. This is like very much the definition of nickel and dime.
It was interesting. Donkey did a video on this, which I thought was really good, but it was really great. And he thought he said the game was terrible. Gameplay's repetitive. It's awful. And but the point that he made that I thought was really interesting was like nobody asked for this. Obviously, like nobody was asking for a fucking Metal Gear zombie game, and the whole zombie thing. It's like I don't know what the years that it was at its height, but the whole zombie thing's played out at this point. It really is. It's not zombies is not the thing anymore. It's a dying thing to add to the game. So I don't know. Like I think again they for sure are definitely trying to cash in on the Metal Gear name, which they obviously own. But it just the way that they're going about it is just so fucking backwards that I mean again it's not shocking, but it's just they aren't helping themselves by any means for trying to sell more. But anyway, so there you go. So Konami just doing more Konami things. I really will be interested to see the sales of this game whenever they get published. But we'll see. All right. Well, we do have one more thing, a little addendum to that. Katie, do you want to talk about this? I don't know if you added this.
Yeah, I added this. I'll take it away. So Metal Gear, like, you know, that was some already some bad news, like objectively just shitty news. But this is just downright like weird and makes you really question like what is going on in that like company, like
internally,
how this happened. Yeah. So in Metal Gear Survive, you make your character, you choose the name for your character, and in the next scene, it shows up in a cutscene like your name is on a clipboard. Like in the Donkey video, it had like all these names, and then you see like I think it was like Shit Dick 2000 just on the list of names. Yeah. But not even looking at that, if you look at the list of names there, and I'll drop a link in the Twitch chat for it. But if you look at the first letter of every last name on that list, or towards the bottom, it spells out KGP forever. And KGP or KJP.
You can do it. There you go.
Sorry, boys. Yeah. Which people have thought theories to say Kojima Pro. Like they call Kojima Productions Koji Pro.
Right.
And you know. So yeah, people have, and that shows up multiple different times in the game. Like when you
so like the first screenshot, I think that is linked in the article. You could kind of go, all right, that could just be coincidence, right? Like maybe look into it. The second one though, when you read it from the bottom up, it's literally like it doesn't seem like a mistake. It definitely seems like
it seems
they were going for it. But
it seems deliberately like placed there when you look at the code names for your staff. Like it spells out the same exact thing, and so you really wonder like, how are there people working at Konami that like Did they have to conspire to slide this by and hope they didn't notice?
Like,
or
are
they
like a Big Brother vibe off of this whole thing? Like, it's like all the employees are under this oppressive regime, and this is their like secret code to fight back. And
please,
like maybe the staff at Konami, like who are like working on the game, because people that worked on 5 are still working on Metal Gear Survive because they don't want to lose their fucking job over this. So they like, what, guys, let's throw in this little message to encourage Kojima. Everyone shut their fucking mouths about this. Don't let Yoshida know. Like, don't let, he like goes by and like, I don't know. But yeah, I just think it's really interesting. I don't think we'll ever really get an answer for this. But
yeah, probably not. Not until, who knows, like not until they're not working there anymore. And even then, it's probably NDAs out the wazoo. I don't know how that works in Japan.
Right,
again, culturally too, like, will they never talk about it? I feel like it would be a lot less than it would be here in North America, where people fucking blab no matter what the NDA is. So yeah, I think it's a little bit different culturally. But again, it goes back to my whole theory that maybe, like, what if this, like, you're saying that they don't want to lose their jobs, but what if the people that are still there that are like, all right, you know what, we're going to do one more thing for our leader, like, you know what I mean? And they're sabotaging the franchise. So like when they come into the room and it's like their employees are like, we're going to do this. They're like, you know what? Don't even fight it, dude. It'll kill, it'll be the last Metal Gear thing that they ever do. I don't know. I mean, again, that's pretty crazy to think about. But when you see these little, like you said, hidden messages, you're like, I mean, who knows what's going on in there?
The Konami Kojima stuff is such fertile ground for conspiracy theories.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah. Really, someone brought this up in chat, but I cannot wait for the Konami documentary.
Oh, dude, it's
like
years.
It'll be so good. Because like
exciting.
This isn't like in Metal Gear Solid 5, they did something pretty similar where you could go to a certain location and there's a radio that actually played the stuff you would hear on the radios in PT. As like a little reference to that game, and I'm like, what the fuck? Konami shipped this, like referencing that thing everyone like is upset at them for. So it's
right.
It's weird.
Wow.
So
all right,
yeah, it's definitely. I think that was worth bringing up.
Yeah, definitely. No, that is really interesting. So all right. Well, moving from giant pieces of shit, Metal Gear Survive, into things that are actually the opposite. Actually, really quality products. Fortnite 3.00 version 3.00 has dropped. It was a big update. Included a decent amount of changes, obviously cosmetics and stuff that you can get. They added a hand cannon. They added a deagle, basically, which I really should. I mean, they added a deagle, and I haven't played the patch yet, but I was obviously a huge fan of the deagle in Counter-Strike. You'd think it's
pretty good too.
Yeah, I've seen some gameplay with it. It looks pretty solid. But yeah, they've really it's a huge patch, and so far it seems like people are enjoying it. You can take a look at there's a pretty lengthy post on the Epic Games website for that. But yeah, have you guys played the patch? Anybody played it? Any notable changes that you want to talk about beyond obviously the hand cannon? But
I haven't played it yet, but I've watched a little bit of it, and also I've read the patch notes. I think the biggest thing that I think will affect me playing it is just the like the improvements they've apparently made to building, being able to build structures. So like when I was first playing it, because I've only played a handful of hours, but one thing I noticed was there are just certain spots you can't build in, and you're like, it seems like I should be able to build in this spot. Like, why can I build in this other spot right next to it, but not this one? And it was like there were just these weird sort of like either something structural was like blocking it, and it was not super obvious that was the case. Or just like there were just spots where you were like you thought you should be able to build there, and because you weren't, you were in this like couple seconds of confusion of like, oh, okay, well then where am I going to build instead? And it seems like now they've made that system a lot more liberal, where like you can basically, I guess, build through build through trees, rocks, cars. So pretty much like the building takes focus over the structures on the map, which I think is sort of the calling card of Fortnite in the first place, that like everything on the map is destructible, basically, like except for the terrain itself, everything is destructible. All the houses, all the cars, all the rocks, if you can see it, you can destroy it. So I think it makes sense that you could build structures that would pretty much trash whatever is in the way. So that seems like a good inclusion to me, and I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah. So again, Fortnite is the it's the ish right now. It's the ish on console. It's the ish on PC. Pretty much everybody that even on Twitch, it's another, like, because obviously we had Battlegrounds when it comes to the BR streamers, like, you know, the big ones, Dr. Disrespect Ninja. Everybody's playing Fortnite right now. So we'll see if that. I mean, I still see Battlegrounds like occasionally, or PUBG in there, but I don't. Again, I just feel like it's Fortnite all the time, and they seem like they're so far, like, the development is pretty quick, and I haven't seen any massive missteps. I will be interested. I'm always, whenever we have these conversations, I'm always interested. I'm always excited. Not excited. That sounds super negative. Like I look for failure, but I always am interested to see. Remember, like when we were talking about PUBG earlier, we're like, couldn't they do any wrong? And then, I mean, obviously since then there's been a lot of missteps. And it's like with Fortnite, I think it's another example of right now they're riding really high. What's going to be, because everybody makes mistakes. Pretty much, there's very few examples of a big game like this not having some issues, or who knows, somebody says something or they change something that people don't like. But they seem to be really in tune with the community. It'll be interesting to see what that first kind of misstep is going to be, because it'll happen. It'll happen. Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's like going to destroy the game or anything. It's just, I wonder what it's going to be for Fortnite, because right now it's.
I think one thing that looks, I mean, if you're comparing the two and kind of looking at their trajectory, and then kind of the fact that they're competing for a little bit of the same mind share. Yeah. I think one thing that you're seeing a bit is just the fact that one game is put out by Epic Games, and Epic Games has been making games for a long time, and they're making it on an engine that they make, so they're pretty familiar with it. Like that is the, I mean, I think, not to take anything away from the PUBG team, because I think they've made an incredible game as well. And they sort of started with a lot fewer resources, and you know they've had to deal with growth and scaling on a level that, you know, most games never have to worry about. But you look at Fortnite, and like the game runs like butter. I think they've been able to move a lot more quickly because they already have resources ready to engage. Like Epic Games is a pretty decent sized company, and you saw like they trashed Paragon. And guess what? I bet all those people are working on Fortnite stuff now. So it's like they've got people to move around. They've got resources. I think they have been able to pivot and turn. Like they've basically been able to cash in on this game's growth. They've been able to keep up for the most part with its growth. And I mean, just like look at these patch notes. This is detailed stuff. This is like they are not slowing down on new content, improving the game. And so like if they can keep up this pace, I think they will probably continue to grow. But also, you know, they're in the stage that PUBG was, let's say, you know, 6 months ago.
They're in the honeymoon stage right now.
Yeah, for sure. But to be fair, I mean, like the game runs beautifully,
way better than PUBG ever ran.
I think that is the biggest honestly the biggest point of comparison that I can see between the two games. Is like the gameplay itself. Yeah, there are some similarities, but like Fortnite is a very different art style, very different, you know, the games play out very differently, the building mechanic, like the games are very different. They're just competing for some of the same people's time because they have similar mechanics at their core. So all else being equal, if you're not into like the super hardcore simulation style that PUBG has, that Fortnite definitely does not have, like absolutely not. It is not that. It is not a simulation game. But if you're just looking for like a battle royale game, you're probably going to pick the one that runs well and that like you don't have constant frame drops or crashing. And as
that's
much as
free, by the way.
True. Free to play helps them a lot. But like even if it wasn't free, just the fact that like there are very few frustrations with the game itself. The game, the technical aspects of the game are not overshadowing the game itself. And I think that's something PUBG has struggled with for, you know, pretty much the whole time of its existence. So, you know, again, a little bit unfair to compare the two because Epic Games, they've made a game before, and PUBG.
Yeah, I mean, they're using their own engine that they coded internally. So it's like, how do you? I mean, you're absolutely right. And they really, I mean, but again, we have to give them credit, man, because I remember when it's just so funny because we talk about this stuff, and especially when we're doing a weekly podcast. It's like if you just chart our I can remember our conversations when Fortnite first came out, and we were like, oh, this is an interesting pivot, right? It's like everybody's jumping on the battle royale train. They have this failing other game, you know, Fortnite, that nobody gives a shit about, that maybe would have been cool 5 years ago, and they finally got it done. I mean, right now though, we're looking at I said it a couple weeks ago. We're looking at the greatest pivot in video game history to success. Yep, I mean, I can't think of anything like they and they made a great product too. It's not just like they didn't just pivot and get off of the success of, oh, it's a BR. It's like the reason it's successful is because it's really addictive and really well made. So I don't know. It's just crazy. I don't think anybody. I definitely don't think anybody saw that coming from just them being like, okay, we'll jump into the arena and see what we can do. So pretty crazy. Need to see the continued success, and it'll be interesting to see the first kind of big controversy around the game, if there is one. So
we'll call out that version 3. Also, they apparently released 60 FPS on console. So
yeah, I mean,
I'll give them props for that as well.
Pretty solid, dude. If you're playing, I mean, if you're playing Fortnite on console, I'm so sorry, but hey, at least you can play at 60. No, I mean, but again, like we talked about the fact that, like, sure, like a lot of younger kids and stuff playing on console and all that, like, you know, they don't have access to PCs, and it's definitely, especially in the previous conversation, now they don't because of how expensive they are.
Exactly. So I can't make fun of people for console and in this environment.
We can't, dude. It is expensive right now. So no, good on them. And so I'm going to ask you a question that directly relates to all the conversation we just had about Fortnite, because this is about PUBG. So moving on to the PUBG, the 2 big battle royale games, PUBG was the king. I think we're starting to say that, like, I don't know, Fortnite with its player base on PC and console seems to be larger than PUBG overall. But they both definitely still have they're distinct games. They still have a ton of the space. Is the announcement that they're delaying their next major update in order to combat cheating and ping issues? So basically performance, obviously not just game performance, but I mean, obviously ping affects how the game plays. Do you think this is a direct result, or at least some of the pressure that Fortnite is applying, when we just got done talking about how well the game runs, how it's not frustrating, really? I mean, I know there's cheaters occasionally, stuff like that, but they seem to be trying to address that. You don't run into a cheater all the time. Do you think that this decision by them to kind of delay and be like, all right, we got to fix this stuff, these really basic things, is a result of that Fortnite glow up? What do you think?
I certainly think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, seeing Fortnite on Twitch is becoming so common. People are essentially changing their channel brands to fit Fortnite. And I've never seen like people have such positive reactions. I meant to say this earlier, but like, I don't think I've ever seen so many people have such a positive or a nonchalant reaction to all the microtransactions that are in Fortnite. I mean, obviously, again, being a free game makes a big difference.
Sure.
But people's reactions to like looking at a new skin that gets released in that game and then immediately going, "Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, I'm gonna buy that right now." Like there's no like there was no hesitation on that, and the fact that Fortnite is able to introduce elements like that and capitalize on a market, and everyone is constantly praising more than anything. It has to do with the game style as well as its technical performance, just the pace of the game, being able to get into a game, get right into some action, get dropped in the first 10 players that die, and get right back into another game without any hesitation or delay. Like, that's the biggest thing I've been hearing from all this, and it makes perfect sense to me that PUBG Corp is looking at that and saying, like, yeah, like, if someone drops out of one of our matches, it probably takes 10 to 15 minutes to get back into, you know, a similar state of action with how long looting takes in PUBG and just load times and how long the game takes to start up. So, I mean, if I were them, from my perspective, I was like, yeah, I want to increase the pace of the game, at least from a technical perspective, especially because they're just going to fall behind now. They have to fix all of these basic issues before they can try to catch up with Fortnite, in the sense that, you know, Fortnite is sort of creating its own its own charm, in the sense, like the way they were able to release different skins and everything like that. I think someone was pointing out, like, they released a John Wick skin, like that. Even if you don't want to buy that skin, like, that's hilarious, and the game is developing its own culture.
Yeah, they're not taking themselves too seriously.
No, they're not.
It's developing its own culture, and unfortunately for PUBG, part of that culture is, man, this game runs so much better than our competition.
Yeah, Yeah, it's very true.
I don't necessarily think it's in response to like what Fortnite's doing. I think it's mostly probably just it's a product of their success. Like if you look at PUBG over time, they've become so successful, and especially like successful in China, that now this cheating issue has become, you know, a really popular topic. I haven't really seen it much myself, but I have seen a lot of people talking about it, that like cheating is just absolutely rampant. And like none of the stuff that they've done so far has really made a dent. You know, they've talked about like banning, you know, whatever, 1 million plus cheaters or something, which is fine, but it doesn't seem like that's stopping the problem. And again, like you will encounter the cheating issue more in a simulation style game, because it's easier to cheat, frankly. Like you don't see cheating as much in games like Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch, because not everything is hit scan. So I think it's like it's a little bit of a product of the game that PUBG ended up being, where the time to kill is very low, and a lot of the weapons are more or less hit scan weapons, you know, until you get it really long range. And so you're going to have a cheating problem if your game ends up being successful. So like they're basically dealing with the problem that, you know, Counter-Strike dealt with more than a decade ago. But like, I mean, I'm sure, Scott, you remember there was a time where you would go into a CS server and basically like you assume someone's cheating, right? Like it's just cheating was so rampant in Counter-Strike.
I always assume it.
Yeah, but like cheating was just like it was almost part of the culture of the game, that like you just assumed there was probably someone cheating if they were really, really good. And and I think PUBG is just like they're hitting that point where you can't. It becomes such a big problem that you can't ignore it. Right. And if they're saying kind of publicly that they have to put other things on hold to address this, you know, I mean, like I kind of sympathize with them. Like it's not a thing you want to devote resources to if you can help it. But when it becomes probably the thing kind of taking over your subreddit and all of that, like you kind of have to make hard choices and say, okay, well, I guess we got to find new ways to combat cheaters. And I don't think Fortnite will have that same problem, because again, it's not as hit scan focused, and especially like you can't really. I guess you could like macro some building stuff, but anyone can do that. But like you can't cheat in the building stuff. Like that's just a thing that you have to make a decision as a human. Do you want to be building a certain thing? And so obviously, like you could still get aimbots and that sort of thing. But I just think I think cheating in a game like that will be so much less prevalent, because like the time to kill is a lot higher in Fortnite, and there are so many other aspects that aren't shooting a weapon and immediately, you know, someone dies.
Yep, that's a good point. So yeah, so I mean, definitely needed stuff for PUBG. I think it makes a lot of sense, like you said, the reason that they're focusing on it. It's also, I'm also curious too. It's hard for me to, like, I think there was a while where there was a lot of people that were playing PUBG consistently and they weren't switching to Fortnite because they were turned off by the cartoony style of it. And I remember saying when I was playing it, I was like, the cartoony style, it doesn't, like the game, it's a different game. Yes, it's a lot faster, but you're not dealing with the camping. It's just so different than PUBG. I think once people try it and switch over, they're going to like it. And I am seeing all these diehard PUBG people on my timeline all playing Fortnite now. Like it's like everybody's playing it. And so I just have to wonder, it doesn't like, and we talked about like, yes, there's room in the space for both games because both are very different. But I wonder the danger that Battlegrounds has, like, and again, they could never sell another copy of that game and already fucking everybody in that company could retire 1 million times over. So it's not really a matter. But it's more, we're talking about keeping the pace or just even maintaining what they have now. I wonder if there's going to come a point where if this stuff doesn't get resolved as quickly as it should, and, you know, people have had a decent amount of patience and there's still a lot of work to be done on Battlegrounds, that people who are already, now they're playing Fortnite and now PUBG is just going to be an afterthought. Like it's going to, okay. So here's the question. This is relating to the next topic, because you know, we can't not talk about H1Z1 losing 91% of its goddamn player base, boys. Oof. You know, we're going to talk about that. But is there a scenario that you can imagine that I think we're super far away from that, if ever happening. Like, I don't think PUBG is ever going to lose 91% of its player base, but of PUBG losing a big bulk of its player base just because, you know, they can't update the game as quickly as Fortnite can. Or do you think the games are different enough that you'll always have that diehard PUBG audience who like the sim aspect of it? I would say that you probably will. I don't think you're ever going to have an issue where like it's not having pretty crazy numbers. But I think it's definitely, when we talked about like, has PUBG finally peaked? I think because of Fortnite's existence, I think we've seen it. That's my opinion, at least. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, and Brandon's expressed this thought multiple times, that the gameplay between the two is still like vastly different, where you do have one sort of simulation style battle, and the other one's a very casual animated version of the same genre. That even like, I think what you're seeing is that because PUBG was one of the more complete, in a sense, battle royale games for a while, and it was sort of standing on its own on this genre and dominating the scene, that you still had that audience that would have preferred something that was more like Fortnite, but Fortnite didn't exist yet. And now we're seeing like those people who would prefer that kind of game anyways transferring over to Fortnite, and you're still going to have that hardcore player base of people who in the first place enjoy this sort of like the simulation type of battle. Like, I don't think you're going to see that same kind of player base loss, because I mean, there's different, H1Z1 had different issues than what PUBG is facing right now, and it's at least because of competition and not because of a lack of support.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to see the same kind of loss whatsoever.
Yeah, and every game is they're gonna peak, and then they're gonna come down to kind of the normal level. And I think there was a while there where PUBG didn't really have any, you know, direct competition, the way that Fortnite became pretty direct competition in terms of the concept. I think that PUBG was basically setting its own pace for months, right? So like, I think it has peaked, but that's because at some point, like, other things are going to come around that steal people's time away. I think PUBG's challenge, and this is why I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that they're sort of, you know, trying to combat cheating and taking, you know, a month to do that or something at this stage, because I mean, presumably they're trying to think about how do we make PUBG relevant for 5 to 10 years, you know, or more. Like, how do you make PUBG a property that is, you know, has 1 million players a few years from now? And because I assume, you know, they want to make it a platform. I think that is probably well served. That goal is well served by focusing on some of the structural issues they're dealing with right now. And they may take some losses to competitors like Fortnite and maybe other games that come along that, like Ying was saying, you know, there may just be people who are playing PUBG because they like Battle Royale, but actually prefer kind of a more fast-paced, cartoony style game. And like when Fortnite came out, that's actually the game they really wanted. So I think PUBG will only face stiffer competition over time, but I still think, assuming they manage the game right and do you know, mind these structural issues, I think PUBG will safely be around for, you know, 5+ years, and that's ultimately what you would want to secure if you're in PUBG's position. Like, you don't care if you have 1.4 million players right now or 1.3 million players. You care about how, you know, in 5 years, do you have 1 million players or do you have 100,000? Right.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. So with that said, let's move on to the roasting portion of the cast. I mean, this headline alone. I mean,
this is like the lawbreakers portion. It's like honorary lawbreakers portion of the cast.
So I mean, just as a headline, H1Z1's player base has declined by 91% since PUBG and Fortnite have taken over. But I mean, it's pretty staggering.
So I was not even paying attention to H1Z1, because there was a time, if you remember, when PUBG came out, that actually both games were growing. Like up until July. Up until July of last year, like H1Z1 was still growing. And so it was like, okay, cool, PUBG is growing a lot, but H1Z1 is still growing, like, because more people are interested in the space, the Battle Royale genre. They're just not, you know, they're not competing directly with PUBG for, you know, the crazy player base anymore. But since then, it has dove off a cliff. They are down into under 10,000 players per day peak, when they were at somewhere they were peaking in July. Their highest peak looks like about 150K in a 24-hour period. That is just utter insanity. Like, I did not realize they had. I mean, they did a Lawbreakers here.
Yeah, they really did.
They did.
They really did. And part of you goes, it's not totally their fault, and then part of you goes, it's totally their fault. I mean, one thing that I know from just H1Z1 former H1Z1 players, I don't know if they ever load the game up anymore, but was just like how frustrating it was, like feeling like just like a lot of the changes that H1Z1 would implement or take forever to implement, they never seemed to be able to get it right or get the timing right. And by the time a lot of the huge updates happened to the game, it was already like PUBG had already started taking off, and people were like, all right, fuck, like I'm over it. Screw this game. And so it's hard to say, like, if it's just a matter of, I think it's probably a mix of like inaction or just not getting the updates or getting some of the changes out that they wanted. And also I think it's just a matter of being dethroned by a better game that was I mean, H1Z1's definitely arcadey. It's not as cartoony as Fortnite, but it's definitely more akin to something like PUBG than it is, Fortnite, obviously because of the building mechanics. And I don't know. It's hard to say, but I mean, you go from 150,000, I guess that was their peak, down to, oh my God, dude. Like
down to under 10,000.
Under 10, like you said.
I think what you said brings up an interesting point that I think, like with Fortnite, I look at kind of like the Battle Royale spectrum, and you look at Fortnite's kind of on one end of that spectrum where it very much, and I think this is one of the reasons that that the game is blown up, is like it really appeals to younger players, like younger kids. It's got kind of that Minecraft vibe. It's really cartoony. The like costumes are funny. There's like a bunch of there's a bunch of stuff that frankly like appeals to kids. Yeah, there's guns in it, but like the guns are the guns might as well be like little air rifles or something. Because it's all very cartoony. There's no blood. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you have PUBG, which is pretty simulation. I don't know that it's like incredibly bloody. But it's definitely, you feel like you were killing other humans. It's a pretty mature game. Yeah. I feel like H1Z1 kind of finds itself in that sort of pinched middle spot.
It is in the
where it's like it's this arcadey game, so it kind of has like this more frantic gameplay that something like Fortnite has, but it's still like a really mature type of game where they're real guns. You're killing humans. It's not something you'd want to give to like a middle schooler. And so like I think that is my most like the best explanation I can come up with is basically they're getting squeezed on both sides, because if you enjoy the simulation stuff, you're probably doing PUBG. If you enjoy something a little more arcadey, cartoony, you're doing Fortnite. And I'm not sure where that leaves H1Z1,
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. It absolutely is it's in between, and it's in between a rock and a hard place. And I actually just tweeted, because I'm feeling super savage at all the some friends and subscribers who used to always play H1Z1. I just tweeted them. I said, "Yo, I'm logging on, boys. Let's frag," with a savage emoji, and then I linked them the article that said they lost 91% of their player base. And Josh himself said, "Rest in peace. It was great while it lasted, but the devs' lack of pushing out updates killed the game. PUBG might be boring, but at least their devs do something." So again, that's something that I've heard a lot from people that played H1, was that like, dude, it took them forever to ship updates and fix the stuff that was broken. And I mean, there you go. So I mean, that's fine when there's no competition, and H1Z1 didn't have any competition for a really long time. And oh, by the way, it's still in early access, guys.
Yes.
That's
the one thing.
As PUBG is out of
I was like, I had no idea this was still in early access. Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. So there you go. But
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're completely down and out. I mean, they're basically they used to be a smaller game. Like these used to be normal numbers for them, back before they blew up, like in mid 2016. So it's it's probably a shot on the chin, but I think they could always come back and reclaim some of that stuff. I think we're probably going to be in a world, especially as more battle royale kind of games come out. I feel like we're going to be in more of a flavor of the month kind of world where, you know, whoever drops the big patch or, you know, whichever one seems the most interesting at that time, like people are going to gravitate to it and try it again. So I don't think any of these games is going to be down and out based on, you know, one thing here and one thing there. I think that it's going to be kind of that sustained update of content and like, you know, basically making sure the game runs and plays well. And I feel like that's why Fortnite kind of has this leg up right now, because that's like this, I mean, that game far and away is the winner if you're comparing all three of these from like a performance perspective. Like Fortnite is just, that's the only thing I can think about it. It's just, it runs beautifully. And I don't think you can, especially for like more casual players, younger players, that's a big deal. Like if your PC can't run PUBG or H1Z1 and you want to play Battle Royale, you're playing Fortnite because you can get 30 FPS, you know, on your older graphics card or something. And so, yeah, it's just, man, I don't know. I'll be curious what H1Z1 does to try and, you know, stem the bleeding.
Definitely. All right, so we got a couple quick hits here to jump to. We had talked about Kingdom Come a little bit earlier. This is just a quick note, but they have apparently they sold 1 million copies of the game so far in less than 2 weeks, which is, I mean, that's impressive. Awesome. That's really, that's really impressive. Really cool. I was reading some of the responses, and I didn't realize that this game actually. Did we talk about the fact that this started out as a Kickstarter, and now they've sold 1 million copies? I didn't realize that. So
I didn't know that either. Wow.
Yeah, someone said, where was it?
That makes a lot of sense in context of, you know, the
I've
voice acting.
seen so many positive responses out there from day one from Kickstarter to 1 million copies. So I didn't even realize that this original idea was I guess funded partially by Kickstarter. So that's actually really cool. That's a pretty impressive Kickstarter success story to sell 1 million copies in 2 weeks. And I think it's well deserved. The game.
I think that's really cool too. It's I mean, it's like it's a single player RPG, which I feel like is not exactly in vogue, you know, at this point in time. Like unless you're Bethesda, you know, unless you're literally Oblivion or Skyrim,
right?
You know, I'd be worried about creating something where you have this massive world and people are only going to pay you once, you know, when you have all this content in the game. So it's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to see that like that sort of game can still succeed.
Right. Single player experience exclusively. Right?
Yeah.
No online, like none of that. So people are still value those experiences. I feel like sometimes, you know, we always see like EA and stuff is like, people are not interested in single player only experiences. That's why we have to fucking sacrifice a decent campaign to have the team work on some fucking half-brained fucking terrible multiplayer. And then you're like, oh my God, how many times have we seen that? So yeah, it is good just for that sake. Not that EA is going to change its ways anytime soon, but
yeah, I was going to say, I think EA's biggest enemy in that fight is EA.
Exactly.
I think that's probably true. People don't necessarily want to buy single player games only from EA. It's good to know that like that possibility is still out there. Except that I'm sure that Kingdom Come sits, you know, on top of a graveyard of games like that that tried and got nowhere. So
sure. All right, and then we've got one more quick hit I just wanted to address because we talked about loot box drop rates a bunch, and it's been in the news the past couple months, especially in North America. And it turns out League of Legends, the boys over at Riot, they outlined their odds of the Hextech chest retrieval in their, I don't know if it's in their terms of service or something like that, but you can actually look at what the drop rates are for the different things that you can get. So the Hextech chest, you can get them via, like, I think from what I haven't played a bunch of League recently, but either like leveling up or doing challenges, you get them, or you can also buy them if you want to open more. But so I'll just read you some of the stuff you can get. So there's a skin shard. It's a 50% chance. You can get a champion shard, which is 25%. You can get an emote, a permanent emote, that's 10%. Ward skin shard plus 150 bonus orange essence is 11.5. And then a summoner icon shard plus 150 bonus orange essence is 3.5%. And there's also bonus drops. A gemstone you can get is 3.6, and a bonus chest plus key is 10%. So anyway, we talked about this being a pretty reasonable thing for companies to do. Like, I don't think it's ridiculous to expect, like, it'd be cool to see what the actual chances are of getting some of the stuff that you might want out of these things. But Riot, I guess, took the initiative and decided to do it, and I don't think it's going to hurt anything, right?
Well, and they, I mean, League of Legends is out in China, so they have to.
That's true too.
Yeah,
I guess I
publicize the
forgot
drop rates
that,
for China, and it's
But I'm saying,
like,
yeah.
You don't necessarily want to run like different versions of the game just for China if you can help it. So it probably behooves them to get up front with this stuff. I think in regard to other publishers, like this just seems, especially since we've talked about like legislators potentially getting involved and wanting to like regulate loot boxes. This seems like the first sort of good faith thing that you as a game company should be doing to try and avoid legislation. Is like you need to be transparent with the drop rates on your loot box style stuff. That's just I think in the long term it just seems like good business even if it's not legally required.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it gives, even if like Mike's saying in chat, it's like if you're a gambler you don't care about what the odds are, and that's true, but at least it's like if they're written down, you can also be like, okay, they're not, I mean, not that they can't, okay, if you're super corrupt, you could be, phantom alerting the fuck out of stuff, I suppose. But, for the most part, it's like, okay, these are written down, these are the rates, they're not going to change. You know what I mean? Like it gives you, I don't know, maybe some sense of like, like, okay, things aren't totally fixed, or it's not changing depending on who's opening it or how much I spent. It's good to know, because again, a lot of that stuff, depending on what you're playing, you never know. So.
Yeah, I mean, also just from the perspective of like if you're a parent and your child is saying like, I really want this one thing, you as a parent can look at that and say like, okay, well, what are the chances to get that, and how much money do I think I'll probably have to spend to get them that thing? Like you can turn it more into a real world. This is how much money I would have to probably pay for the thing that my child wants, and like it's not all about just people gambling. It's like, literally, some of the stuff is frustrating because you have no idea as a consumer what it might take to get this thing that you would like because the system is so opaque.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, we'll see if that trend, like I want to see the fucking Counter-Strike Global Offensive crate drop rates.
Yeah.
I don't think Valve is going to do it in a million fucking years unless they have to. But I would love to see. I mean, I know that I know it's fucking insane. I know it's so skewed. Like, I mean, how many blues and purples have you fucking had? I know it's incredibly skewed. It's super rare to get anything good. But.
Right. I think like knives like have to be less than 1%. Like,
for sure. It absolutely feels like that. I think so.
I mean, people have tried to do like basically.
Do the math,
sample studies and extrapolate on the results that they get, and like any one that I've seen of those is like, it's like way less than 1%. Like,
for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And that actually surprised me, the drop for skin shards, because like I wasn't really looking for the data I was looking for is like what kind of skins, like the likelihood of what kind of skin you get. I guess they're making it sound like it's just random draw, because I've gotten. From the chests I've opened when I played Liga like a month or two ago, is like I got the SKT Vayne skin. I got like a couple like skins you can't get now, and I'm thinking, I mean, I'm just that lucky, or like.
I mean, I think you're that lucky, dude. That's pretty good.
It must be, I guess. I might have to get back in the
league. You should keep buying chests, man. That luck can't run out.
Exactly. Let's keep going.
Well, how about you take your incredibly good luck and take it into the incredibly good release section? I don't know what that segue was. Take it away, brother. Well, I'm assuming it's going to be incredibly good. That's what I'm assuming. But I do these 3 games. The first one doesn't have me. I mean, well, who knows? Maybe this is highly anticipated. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a crazy week for games by any means. There's like nothing AAA coming out on PC.
Yeah.
So.
I just want you to read the title for this one. This is the title.
Oh, yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, I mean, in these dire circumstances, what do? We scour the indie games for anything positive. So I found 3 games that look kind of worth looking out for, because they have some, semblance of polish put into them, which is much more than other indie games can say on Steam. So this first game is called Helmut. It's spelled HELLMUT. So it's Helmut, the Badass from Hell.
I think you want to pronounce that Helmut.
Helmut.
I think it's is it a dog?
It's a dog. It's a dog.
I think it's
Helmut. There you go. Okay. Well, there you go.
I think from the art, it is pixel art, so it's pixel like that style, so it's hard to.
Right. It's a top-down shooter with like pixel art, and really any further attempt I have to make to describe this game to you, it's literally Enter the Gungeon. Like it is unashamedly Enter the Gungeon. Like you look at a few seconds of gameplay and it's like, is this a mod? You know, like it's very, it's like aggressively blatant. But I mean, it's with this kind of spin on it. You know, there's opportunities for people to like take their own spins on the formula. So, and this game doesn't look like I've seen other Enter the Gungeon ripoffs that are like they look like they're entirely composed in MS Paint. So this is, I mean, it's worth throwing on just for that alone. It's so yeah, that comes out February 27th. First time game from a Volcanic developer. So rising stars, I'm sure.
Yeah, so might be the next PUBG. Who knows?
Yeah, their description is like very. You can tell they're really trying to get. I really don't think they have much pride. Like the very last paragraph of their description is, "Look, you've read this far, so you must be interested. Just stick it on your Steam wish list and wait for a sale, or take pity on the starving developer.
Oh my god! Buy
food this week."
Oh my god!
They're really like, God damn it! Please just buy our game.
Just buy it.
Yeah, last week we talked about the plight of the indie developer on Steam. We actually have indie devs begging you to buy their game in their descriptions.
Wow, that's new.
I mean, I do like the level of self-awareness.
That is good.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. Yeah. So yeah, if you're feeling generous, then you can pick up Helmut on February 27th. No word on the price yet, but that's how it goes for most indie games. Yeah. Next up, this game actually looks pretty fun. This game is called Deep Rock Galactic. It's coming to early access February 28th. It's first time dev, but it's published by Coffee Stain Publishing, which has done Sanctum, Goat Simulator, Story About My Uncle. So pretty publisher you can put faith into, it looks like. And it's a 4-player co-op sci-fi FPS where it looks like you're like mining this cave and you're trying to explore it, and you're kind of freely exploring by like mining walls and like exploring that way instead of like
procedurally generated as well, which is always a bit of a red flag for me because I feel like that shit gets thrown around. I mean, ever since No Man's Sky, when we say procedurally generated, I get a little bit scared. But no, I saw Diction actually playing this yesterday or the day before. It actually looked really cool. The art style was neat. Yeah, the whole like you're basically like basically breaking through the walls and going deeper and deeper and finding like bunches of enemies and collecting stuff. It looks kind of neat.
The art style looks really solid. It looks fun. I mean, and hey, I want to read this little excerpt from the description here. By the way, on some of the reviews, like PC Gamer said it was like one of the best games they've seen at PAX West, so 2017. So it's not worth glossing over. Oh, I gotta find this because this hurts home. I don't know if this game reminds you of another game.
Is it? Were you gonna say Orion Dino Beatdown?
No. No.
Okay, because this is unfair to this game, but a couple of these screenshots gave me an Orion Dino Beatdown vibe. I think just because like there's this one screenshot that has like this lush grass environment.
Yes,
and then a sort of this like I don't know what that thing is, but like a power station or something. It just reminded me of
I see that. Beatdown. I mean, Dino Beatdown wishes it looked this good.
I know. It's unfair to this budding indie game.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this quote here kind of brought back some PTSD. APL. It said, "The choice is yours, but proceed with caution. You don't want to stumble into an alien swarm."
Oh boy!
I'm like, oh shit!
Oh, God.
4-player sci-fi alien. We got to get the boys together. We got to get Toom. We got to get Timmy. We got.
Oh yeah, this game looks actually like it would be a fun 4-player co-op. We definitely should play this. Looks good.
I'm really down. Let's do it.
Yep.
So yeah, if you want to jump on this game with your lads, it's going to be February 28th. No word on the price yet. You know, most of these games you could probably find out the price if you just dig a little bit, like go on their Twitter and like I don't know, interrogate them, because it's probably I don't know why the fuck indie devs don't have their prices on their games. That's probably I'd love to know about, you know, why that is. Anyways, this last game looks, I mean, at a glance, probably the least exciting, but it's called Rift Star Raiders. It's an online co-op. top-down arcade shooter, which and it looks like kind of well polished. It's sci-fi, and I mean, these online co-op games on Steam are, you know, kind of a dice roll when you look at these, but this one actually looks like it's got a lot of polish into it. So, and that one also comes out February 28th, which
and hey, the recommended specs for the graphics card are an NVIDIA GTX 960. So all you sad saps who are trying to upgrade your video card and stuck with your 960s, 970s, and below, hey, listen, you know, you can pick up some of these indie games and really, you know, flex your video card muscle on these less power-hungry games. You know, it's not all bad.
Yeah, I'm getting max settings on Riftstar Raiders. Bitches.
What game? Oh yeah, Riftstar, dude.
Had to overclock it for this one.
Dude, I'm getting 200 FPS on Riftstar Raiders. That's crazy.
Is this what enlightenment feels like? Dude, that's how I fucking felt when I first actually got a gaming PC. It was a while ago, and when like Minecraft was like first starting.
Oh yeah.
First thing I did, I turned every single setting in that game down to low. I put draw distance on 0. I put on like the lowest resolution, and I look at the floor, and I'm like, dude, 14,000 FPS. I'm untouchable. I can smell the grass.
I thought you were going to say totally the opposite. I thought you were like, yeah, I cranked everything up to max and I got like 100 and I felt like a god. No, you turned it all to low and put the odds in your favor. I love that. That's amazing.
Oh, no. Dude, for some reason, Minecraft, like, I still lag on that shit when I turn the draw distance up on a 970.
Yeah, it's because it's rendering so much shit. Well, that would be more. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just super, requires a lot of the way the shit it renders.
All the anime mods you have installed.
Oh, that's true. Every time I kill a creep, I hear yeah. So that one might have to go. That'll be tough to part with.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another thing too. Putting up all the TNT and just trying to like see if you can break your computer. Just like put down 20,000 blocks of like TNT and just watch it crash. Something pretty fun about that.
There's a Minecraft parody in there somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know how we got to Minecraft from Riftstar Raiders. Yeah, that comes out the 28th. So,
all right. Well, thank you for another banger of a quick hit, excuse me, new release section. My goodness, I don't know how I got those confused. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. We're going to jump into the viewer questions here. We've got 2. The first one comes from Jeff on Twitter. And he asks us, having recently been to a Monster Jam event, have you guys ever been to one yourself, and or have you been interested? I would highly recommend it. Anybody?
You just looked up what a Monster Jam.
Of course, I've been to the Monster Jam.
Yeah.
Love the Monster Jam.
Oops. I'm assuming that's where like the monster trucks drive around and crush stuff and do their tricks and right? Is that a Monster Jam?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why my mind went to like Monster Energy drinks, and I'm like, what the dude, just like pouring it on each other. Yeah.
What?
But no.
Every time me and the boys get together, it's a Monster Jam.
Monster Jam,
Monster Jam, dude. Yo, wet Monster Jam t-shirt contest.
I brought the Super Soakers too, dude.
Yo, wear your white tees. We're getting Monster Jam tonight.
It's just soaked green by the time you're done. They don't have water balloons that like monster balloons.
Oh my god, I need someone to.
It's in my eye, bro. All right, now that could be taken really out of context.
Right into my eye, bro.
What a throwback. The gay surfer Taj. I just got reminded about that. Oh, what a sick back.
I love the Monster Jam. I've been to a few of them. Not in many years, but yeah, when they would come through town, like I love monster trucks. They're super loud, and you know, it's a neat event. I think it's something that I think kids like a lot, and even as an adult, I think it's pretty cool. Like they're just loud, awesome trucks. What's not to like?
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I've been to a few before, but only when I was like really little. So I remember enjoying it, but I don't know if it's something I'd really like. I'd probably get into it now, but I really can't say because like it's just been so long. I just remember like I'd probably be really more impressed by it now than I was as a kid because like it didn't really register to me like the pure destruction that was unfolding. I don't know. I actually enjoyed when the times when the people on bikes would come out and do tricks. Like, yeah, I think But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I've never been to a monster jam. I used to go. My dad used to take me to drag racing quite a bit. And I always liked drag racing. That was fun. But I know I would like a monster jam. I just never went to one.
Yeah,
I guess I've watched stuff on TV. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The concept of a monster jam is so foreign to me. Like I have no experience with it whatsoever.
That seems like such an American thing, actually. Now that I think is there anything more American than a monster jam?
Unfolding destruction?
Yeah.
Drinking beer, dude. Drinking a Bud, getting hammered, taking your top off, and flailing in the air when the big, Goliath Eater or some shit comes out and he crushes. Goliath Eater.
Oh, dude, monster jams in Canada, they just all have leaf blowers and they're going wild. I was
gonna say that would never
the carnage.
That would never fly in
roll it on my tractor.
Oh shit. Yeah, no, I would love to go. I've never been. So
I don't know if they happen as often, but like they used to come. I mean, they used to come through in Texas like every single year. So I think I've been to like 2 or 3 of them, but I don't know. I haven't heard of them coming through like the West Coast. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a Midwest thing, for all the people that have lifted trucks and shotguns and stuff. Like I don't know if that's if that's the demographic and they just don't come to the coasts or not. But
yeah, doesn't seem as frequent. All right, good question by Jeff. And then our second question, our last one, is kind of an interesting one. It's from Darren Tweets, and he asks, he just says, Katie's pregnant? With a question mark? Katie? Would you like to respond to this?
I'm definitely not pregnant.
Okay. Was there anything that you did recently that would make people think
you say absolutely, so like no chance?
Yeah, no chance at all?
There's really no chance. I made sure to take the necessary precautions. I was told that they used protection, so I mean...
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, all right.
I don't really know if this is a reference.
I mean, you did sit on a new toilet. You were telling us about that. Like,
that's right. That's true. Oh, no. Did you clean the seat off, Katie? Oh, my God.
Every single time, dude.
Okay.
When the poop hit the water and the backsplash came up, it's over. Straight for the pill.
Such a visceral reaction to that I can tell Katie's serious.
Yeah, definitely.
I want no confusion about whether or not I'm pregnant on here. I have to nip this in the bud.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, that's good. Well, I mean, this would be the part, guys. Now that we're done with the viewer questions, that we would read the iTunes podcast review of the week. But not to lay a guilt trip on anyone, but
you have one more chance.
We literally have one more chance to get a review in. So we would love. Yeah, we would love to read as many reviews as we can on the final episode. So listen, if you're ever going to leave a review, I don't think you have a better opportunity to get on than you do next week, which is when we go on the indefinite hiatus, the last episode for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So get on iTunes, give us the 5 stars, and leave a goddamn review. I mean, this thing who knows? If we never pick the podcast up again as it is right now, that's a piece of history, dude. You're going to have to be somebody's guide for 312 episodes. You know how much content that is? Some of these episodes are 2.5, 3 hours. Some of them are 4. I mean, there is so much to digest. So I think leaving a bit of a breadcrumb trail maybe about like, hey, dude, some of these are my favorite episodes, or hey, this moment was cool. I mean, who knows what you can do.
Give us your favorite moments or episodes in a review. I would love to. I'd love to reminisce with people that have maybe been listening for a while but haven't chatted or haven't left a review before. It'd be cool to hear from, maybe audio listeners who
that's true.
Who don't show up to the cast live.
Definitely talking to the audio listeners here. If you're not going to catch it live, and even if you're not going to catch episode 312 live, do it this week at some point.
But really, catch episode 312 live.
But please do, yeah. Try your absolute best. But yeah, so as always, it's it's been a blast. The time has flown, and we've pretty much discussed everything that is of relevance for your entire week. So again, you are now informed and more. And I almost said more smarter than you were before. God damn it. And more enlightened than you were before. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Of course, you can check out KBMOD, the website. Just go to www.kbmod.com. Check out the occasional articles. Check out the forums. Check out the community and content on there. You can follow KBMOD Gaming on Twitter at KBMOD Gaming. You can follow Katie Zen on Twitter at KatieZen_. You can follow Yingity Yang at Yingity Yang, or Bingity Bang is his actual alter ego account on Twitter. He posts lots of very inappropriate.
That's his private account. He accepts everyone, but you have to follow him first. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's for me. Those tweets are for me.
just for you. I am of course at APL Fisher, and Brandon is at Volition VOL1TION. And like I said, really hope to see you for episode 312 next week, as we will be going on an indefinite hiatus after that point. And so thanks as always for listening. And like I said, hope to see you guys next week. Farewell.
Yatta!